Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is one of the most important people in the Canadian BMX scene who has helped build the reputation that Canada has some badass street riders. In 2005, he started a blog BMX site called Repset, and over the next few years, he would become one of the most known people in Canada for blogging. He would be updating people on the newest video parts, writing articles with some of the most known and unknown riders in Canada, and then he and his crew would go out and make countless videos, whether it was fun web edits or longer mixtape parts. 15 years later, he is the owner of Floodway, a screen printing shop in Winnipeg. It's an honor to be speaking with the one and only Cory Beal. Cory, how are you?
It's an honor to be here, man. That's a crazy intro.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I take pride in my intros, so I hope that was good. Anyways, typically around here, the way we start is that we go all the way back to when you first started riding. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about how you got started?
Holy, so I guess I'm 31 now, and I started riding when I was like, I don't know, I guess 9 or 10 years old. I must have been end of grade 4, got a BMX bike, and I was just super into like what was happening in my neighborhood, and it was pretty much just like a flatland rider. So my first couple of years, I just rode strictly flatland in this parking lot, like in Transcona here in Winnipeg. And that was maybe, like 2000, like 1999, year 2000. And so I started riding just flatland in Winnipeg, and that was it until I moved. I moved to Orangeville when I was in grade 8 or grade 9. Sorry, it was like right before grade 8. So moved to Orangeville. I don't think I had my bike at that time. Like, I can't really remember. It wasn't too big of a gap, but I got a bike again in Orangeville and just started riding with guys there.
Hell yeah, that's super dope, man. Orangeville is actually it's the home of some insane underrated riders right now. There's a dude who I had on the show a little while ago. His name's Devin, aka Father Pig BMX. He came out to one of my jams and completely threw down one champion of the day. Yeah, that kid is unreal. He's got hop helicopters dialed, like to the point where, just bar and crank at the same time, no problem. Yeah, Orangeville's got some unreal shredders, and I think it's all from that park, man. That park is unreal.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. And, so I lived there up until, I moved the summer that they're building it. So I moved to Tottenham, which is like a 30-minute drive. It's kind of in between, I guess if you're not from Ontario, Orangeville is like an hour's drive from Toronto? Or it was back in the day, I guess. It's north of Toronto, and so is Barrie, but Tottenham's kind of right in the middle of those two. They're both about a equal distance north of Toronto type of thing. So I moved there, and it's like a 30-minute drive, and I did not drive until I had a kid like 3 years ago. So yeah, I only really would say I rode street in Orangeville for the most part, and when they had that skate park, it was. Yeah, it's a game changer. Real spots.
Yeah, Orangeville, unfortunately, they don't have too many spots in the city, at least, There's really like a very, very limited number, but you're so close to Toronto, Kitchener, Guelph, all of these areas that the spots are like, unfortunately, you got to drive to them, but fuck, man, there is some good spots outside of that city.
I'm kind of grateful for that looking back, it's like the reason I brought it up is I think it's special kind of missing that skate park era, because when you just said that, Toronto's so close, I was thinking, man, yeah, we used to drive there every weekend, it felt like. And then once that skate park got built, and it wasn't just because the skate park got built, it was like I moved to Tottenham. When I moved to Tottenham, it was like every weekend I went to Orangeville instead of Toronto. We'd go there for an event or something like that, but when we were younger, man, me and my buddy Stefan would go down there as much as we could, I feel like.
Yeah, Toronto's unreal, man. All those dudes are just so good. And obviously, you got really in with the dudes over at BMX Foo. And you're a badged rider at this point. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became a badged rider for BMX Foo?
I don't know what the decision process is, and I felt like if I did know, I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was a thing either, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
I got badge 22 and it got stolen on a bike like a couple years ago, and I'm still super optimistic about getting it back. So I haven't asked for a replacement, like an emergency replacement badge, which I heard might be a thing. But I don't know. I just it's in a Southern Ontario thing, right? Like before, maybe before the skate parks, we were all kind of driving around a lot. Like there was stuff to ride in Orangeville, so we had a good time there, right? It's where we kind of, well, maybe it's why I'm good at like flatland tricks, because we didn't really ride like actual spots, but small like nibbles and stuff like that. But yeah, man, it's like when those parks, before the parks got built, I felt like we were all cruising around a lot more, and the jams were really, really important. So we'd see people there, and I was just saying yes, like taking every opportunity I could to go to some like new place. I think the first time I went to Niagara Falls was with, it was with Chijo and Chris Silva, and I think, oh man, I wish I was sure about who else was with us, but I didn't have, this was like, yeah, we drove over the border and I didn't have photo ID at the time, and that was okay for some reason, and just crazy stuff that I didn't think about back then. But yeah, it was just that, like hanging out, driving around and whatever, like trying to go to these places. And I don't really think it ever, yeah, it's not like a checklist or whatever, but yeah, I asked Lee to, I was trying to get a bunch of tattoos from Lee Dennis when he was getting started doing that, and one of them ended up being a BMX food tattoo, and I think that kind of like, that snuck me in a little bit, right?
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like that's definitely something they would really be into, you know? So where's the BMX food tattoo?
It's on my like
It's on your leg?
It's on my inner knee. Yeah, it's like where it's where your seat kind of touches your inner knee there.
Oh, that's a pretty good spot actually for that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Do you got any other tattoos, or are you not really into them?
Yeah, you know what? Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm into them. What?
Yeah.
Do people just not want to show you? That's just funny, like a funny add-on to that question. Like, it's okay if you're not into your old shitty tattoos.
Well, my dad's a tattoo artist, so I'm fucking covered. Like, we've been working on this ridiculously huge owl piece for my entire chest, but it's just one of those things that I always find, like, you know, you'll meet a couple people that might have one, and they just weren't into it at all, right? Like, I've been fully covered since, like,
Yeah.
I was so young, right? Like, I was in high school, like, 11th grade, and had a full sleeve.
That's great, yeah. So you were the cool guy, huh?
Definitely, yeah.
Tattoos are funny. Like, I realize now more than ever that it's, yeah, everyone has their own experience with them, or their own kind of, like, they're important to people in different ways. My wife is not totally covered, but she's got a lot of work done, and hers is more maybe a collection of art, and mine are all just like weird little jokes. So yeah, I've never really been tattooed by like a shop. I've never been in, like, I've been in a tattoo shop a couple times, but I've never been tattooed in a shop. I've only ever been tattooed by Lee Dennis, and like in living rooms and crap like that, and my buddy Taylor Elvey, another BMX rider. So I've only been tattooed by like BMX guys, and I've never really paid more than like a 12-pack of beer or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough, man. I think everybody's kind of different with it, right? Like, I met a dude who he was full of just joke tattoos, and one of them is that he had literally a fucking rooster tattooed underneath his knee on a noose, just so he could say he's got a cock hanging between his or a cock hanging below his knee. But I'm like, that is amazing.
Do you know Chris Rantel?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of him.
He's had a good run of, shout out to Chris for he's got a good run of joke tattoos. If you want to see a collection.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check him out, you know, and see that. Anyways, going back to BMX Foo here, you actually had a split part with a good friend of ours, Chijo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chijo is just one of my favorite riders in Southern Ontario. You know, such an unreal dude. And while I was doing research for this, I actually went back and looked at some of the stuff that you guys posted on Repset years ago. And one of them is like a video of him, I think, riding the core warehouse. And he's like doing flares, he's doing park tricks, and he's just unreal. And it's so crazy to see the transformation over the years of how he was like such a great park rider and switched right into street and kind of brought it all with him.
Yeah, did you know? So Chijo's like a OG like trials rider. Like I'd say, man. Well, I've known Chijo a long time. The first time I ever saw Chijo was man, you might kill me for saying this, but first time I ever saw Chijo was on a mountain bike at like a Newmarket BMX jam, doing like kickflips and all sorts of stuff on it. And I had buddies who were into urban mountain biking or street mountain biking at the time. But yeah, Chijo was sick, and I was saying to him just a couple weeks ago that like I don't know what it is, but the way his riding has come together these last, and it's not just like recently, right? It's like it's always been sick in its own way, but now I think it's hitting different. You might say, right? It's just that trials and street influence with that crazy technical part control is just getting executed real good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think over the past couple of years, we've seen people like Crumlish and, you know, obviously Chijo really break in the brakes and really get people stoked on it. Like, I've seen a big uprise of riders riding brakes. You know, like if you think back 8 years ago, nobody had fucking brakes on their bike, like at all, right? Yeah, but
it was weird. Like, having a gyro was kind of like it was like a split in scenes almost.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. If you had brakes, you had brakes like, you know, a straight cable, and that typically said you were a trails rider or you rode street. And then if you had a gyro, you were strictly like lightest bike, you know, total fucking everything, like, you know, all about the lightest bike, all about the fastest tricks and the fastest spins, you know?
Yeah, word. And I like mixing it up when I had a bike with only a front brake. I remember going to a skate park in St. Thomas. What was the old skate park called there? Do you remember the wood skate park?
Yep, that was called Industries, right? It was indoor park. Yeah.
And then Rizzy's Warehouse, I think it was called after that.
Yes, it
Tyler
was.
Rizzy, I think his old man bought it or something like that. So, yeah, I remember going there with only a front brake on. So I was definitely riding park and street stuff at the time. And someone just asked me if I rode Flatland or something like that. Like, and so that's why I always love those BMX crew guys like Charlie and I don't know, Lee, Dennis, and Jake Montgomery. Even like, because you're right, no one rode brakes, but all those guys had like they did ride brakes, I guess, right? Like, but they weren't braked riders. It wasn't like an identity thing. But I love that a lot of people weren't scared to toss them on for a little bit. And yeah, Charlie hasn't always had them either, but yeah, just you're right. They are perpetuating this this wicked brake culture, squeaker gang or whatever they're calling it, right? Chijo's got his own signature product. Shout out to the Tartar, the brake sticky.
Dude, I actually have some of the tartar above me, and you won't be able to see it, but my recording computer, everybody will be able to. It's, I have a loose one, actually. Here we go. So for you, it's right here. And what this is, guys, is it's roofing tar. And I run this on both front...
The secret sauce, man.
Dude, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna blur that. Actually, I'm gonna do that. But dude, it's so good. It's literally like it works so well. I use it on both front and rear, which is crazy. So I ride gyro setup, but I do one cable for front and rear, and it is fucking gnarly. Yeah, it's very weird, right? Because both your wheels stop at the exact same time.
That's I think that's the old trials trick. Like when I was riding Flatland, I used to do weird stuff like, I don't know, you ever heard of people putting like Coca-Cola on their rims or like sugary?
Absolutely, yeah. So before I was using the brake tartar, the secret sauce as we call it, I was actually using Coca-Cola, and that was like Coca-Cola worked really well until it got humid out, and then all of a sudden your rim would just be fucked. Like you wouldn't have brakes at all.
Yeah, you can't do a can't trust your life with a back rail foo-foo with that going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely not. That's why I switched, and like the switch has been so good. I put this stuff on pretty much every session before I go out and ride, and my brakes are locked, like no problem at all.
Yeah, I was talking to Chijo about disc brakes, and yeah, he made a good point that V brakes are, yeah, you can get a V brake going just as tight as any disc brake. And, yeah, the U brake, the BMX example is so good. Like people trust their lives with that, with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a clip of Cory Burglar, who's from the Scotty Kramer YouTube channel, but he tried to do a back rail foofanu on this fucking fence, and there's like a 15 or 20-foot drop on the other side, and he locks in, but then he starts to go forwards, and he has to jump off the bike, and just the way he literally fell like full onto his fucking ribs, like 20 feet, and it's the scariest shit ever. But those brakes were locked. It was all because like he was leaning too far forward, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can stop those wheels, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yo, hold
absolutely.
up. I wanted to take some notes for myself, and I missed. I just wanted to ask you, who'd you say the kid's name from Orangeville was? Who's killed
Yeah,
it?
so that is Devin, and his Instagram name is Father Pig BMX.
Shout out to him.
Yeah,
Yeah, Orangeville had a wicked scene back in the day. Their BMX shop just closed. R.I.P. to
broken boards, right?
Yeah, broken boards.
Yeah, yeah. A buddy of mine, he's from Orangeville, and he lives just up the street now. But he actually was one of the people that recommended to have you on the show. So, shout out to Keith. Good job, man. Keith Baker, if you know him.
I'm not sure if I met Keith Baker. Sorry if I have, Keith, but yeah, thank you, Keith, and shout out to Brady for running that shop for so long. I know it's not easy in any retail environment, especially BMX bikes, right?
Yeah, and I believe they went out. They went out of business before COVID, but definitely no way to survive after that. You know, like you might have been able to sell out all your BMXs, but I don't know, man. Like that's real rough. You know, what's everything like up there for COVID right now?
Oh man, it's like, well, our cases we had a good run of really low cases, and it's kind of wild now. Our cases are flying up, and we have mask rules now and stuff like that. But I would say I don't know, it's not, there's nothing special here. I don't think it's just special for everybody, right? We're all kind of doing the same thing, except it's just different, like for different people or different timelines, different kinds of projects and stuff like that, right? So the business has been kind of weird because while we print for, you can imagine, like bands are not going on tour, but some bands are still selling tons of merch online. Like they're now doing tons and tons online. So we're not doing any events. Like we used to print for lots of festivals and stuff like that, and those aren't really like. Yeah, I miss like music stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's very true, man. What I love too, by the way, is that you are I mentioned this in the intro there, but you actually own a screen printing shop, and screen printing is the way to go if you're like, looking into shirts. I have been for a little while, and I put up a pre-order last week, and holy fuck, guys, you guys sold that shit out in just over
Yeah.
24 hours. So I am very hyped about that.
That's sick.
And for future orders, I am definitely going to be ordering through you, Cory, and you'll just have to ship them to me. So there we
Yeah,
go.
no one told you I didn't want to plug Floodway too hard, but I guess this is a good chance to say like we've had a BMX discount since day one, and like I don't have it in front of me, so I don't answer all the emails these days, so I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I'm pretty sure that it's free shipping. I'm pretty sure that give you like a price break up. So if you're getting 25 pieces, we'll give you like the 50 piece pricing, like one step.
Oh shit,
And
dude!
then blanket like 10% off. I'm pretty sure is.
Hell yeah!
So it works out pretty good, just because like, man, t-shirts is what t-shirts really help get the Repset jams going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that if you had a really easy way to get that taken care of, that it's a really easy way to make your jams like, man, having $100 to just like give some, like to have a barbecue going and stuff like that is kind of like to have a free barbecue instead of having to ask people to pay that kind of stuff makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at this year's HVXgoat Money Talks Jam, we actually gave away $400. And that was all, like, my personal money. But I do it every year because, like, the scene is just so good to me. It's moments like these where I sell out of all these shirts in, fucking so fast. And you know what? I haven't fully placed the order with this guy. I've got all the pricing and everything figured out. So I'm going to, compare prices, and I'm 100% sure yours will be better.
And make sure you're not getting your leg pulled or something like that. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to...
There's some good shops. I should say there's some good shops in Ontario.
Yeah.
Lee Dennis goes to a shop called, shout out to Press Time Design. I think they're in Hamilton, and yeah, I've seen them a lot around our like print community, which is kind of like funny, similar to the BMX community in a lot of ways. But yeah, I've seen those guys around. They do really good work. So there's not bad shops, but it's always worth. Everyone knows someone who makes T-shirts. Everyone's got a buddy.
Yeah, fair enough. While we're on the topic of knowing someone, I thought I would tell you about someone I know who sells bikes all across Canada for a great price. Harvester Bikes. Harvester Bikes is known for being one of the best shops around for whatever your needs may be. Are you into old school bikes? Harvester has a great selection on old school parts and even offers maintenance to clean up your old bike and bring it back to life. Maybe you're in need of parts from brands like Sunday, Odyssey, Shadow, Sabrosa, or Cult. Well, you can get those in-store or online with his Canada-wide shipping. Harvester is known for giving back to the community, whether it be with his yearly jams, weekly shop rides, or even supporting passion projects like this. If you want to give back to the BMX community, a great way to do it is to shop at Harvester Bikes. Yeah, anyways, going back here to Foo 666, when you guys had a part together, there's a few clips in Texas there. One of them was a lucky stall to tooth on the famous bank to sub box. So I'm going to show the clip on stream, and why don't you just let us know, the story behind that clip, or if you had any other tricks lined up. What's the story behind this?
Yeah, Austin. I can't remember what year that was, but... Man, yeah, it's like I'm dying to go on a BMX trip right now. I don't know about you, but just thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, like even the last time I was in an airport was a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Do you know what that spot's? Do you know what that spot's called?
No, I don't. I should know the name, but it's in Austin, Texas, and it's the famous like DIY ditch to sub box spot. And if you pull up your video part with Chijo, it's pretty... I just Googled hip Austin, Texas ditch, not to blow up this spot, but yeah, it's it's called 5 Hip. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that trip was so good, man. All I remember is that there was like man, I'm just like it's all going so fast in my head. All I remember was like barbecue and it being like so hot, but I was still wearing long johns for some reason, just like fresh off the plane from Winnipeg, and like, yeah, that spot was there. Yeah, I can see it kind of in the. I can see the video. Oh yeah, so yeah, we got there, and I think that was one of the first spots we went to, and it has an amazing left side hit. I'm not gonna say the best left side hit because that Gardner hip in Toronto got rebuilt, but it was one of the best like to the left hips that I've ever ridden, and I hurt my ankle really bad, like almost right away. I think pretty sure before filming that clip even, and then I was just sore and like whining about it the next couple days. I couldn't really like give her when we went to 9th Street and stuff like that. I kind of just had to roll through it, but that spot is cool. It's like it really is just like a skate park. It might as well be a skate park. Like it's that good. It's that smooth, and I don't know. I'm used to everything just being destroyed from winter. So, yeah, that place is really, really good.
Yeah, that spot looks incredible, man. It's definitely one that I would really like to hit up one of these days. But yeah, did you have any other tricks lined up for that, or was the tooth to lucky or lucky to tooth just the perfect spot for it?
Oh no, like we were just kind of, I don't think I went down with filming for some like anything really in mind. Like I just kind of I don't know how it came together, but I love when trips do come together like this, where I just get invited on a trip and it's good timing and everything works out. Like it was a super fun trip. I never really like stayed with Charlie before that or anything. I've been on trips with him before, but never like been in like never had him host me. Like I've been hosted with him, but I never had him host us, and that was super awesome. Yeah, shout out to Charlie for showing us a really good time that whole kind of era. And man, yeah, so I didn't really have anything planned filming. We were just kind of hanging out. I hurt the shit out of my ankle, and that trick's kind of like Trent talks shit on it because it's kind of it's relatively easy if you can. It's like the easy way to do a toothpick, that's for sure. So no, I didn't have anything planned. I wish I could have done a table on that hip, but I was kind of chilling after that.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I feel like that hip would be incredible, and I'm a to the left guy as well. So the Gardner hip is like always something I want to hit up when I'm in Toronto. Um,
Classic.
Yeah, dude, such a great spot. You know, there was a post on your Instagram recently that I'll pull up on the computer here, and you actually just talked about the Gardner hip in that post and like how important it was. You know, I don't know how.
Yeah, dude, that was just a spot we go to like every time, right? Like, last time I went to stay with Trent in Toronto, he asked, where do you want to ride? And I said downtown, and I don't know, I thought I was being lame, like asking to go, but he said they don't really ride there all the time, and I just thought that was funny, and it makes sense, I guess. There's so many people. There's like the spots are kind of all a bust, and that's the way it was when I was 15 and 16, but that's what makes it so good, right? So that was like a central spot. I don't know where, like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just close to the Sky Dome and stuff like that, which was also a pretty popular spot, the CN Tower and stuff, before they put grass in front of that bank and everything like that. So yeah, that was an iconic spot. We'd just go there and rip it. And so 5 hip is like, it's about the same size as Gardner hip, but there's no pillar there, and it's kind of got like a downhill run up into it. Like you can really go, like you can ride it like all day because it's kind of effortlessly fast. You don't have to like, well, the best thing about Gardner hip is that pardon me, the best thing about Gardner hip is that it has like a block of run up, right? Like you can pedal as fast as you can for as long as there's enough unlimited, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the best part. You have to be a man to go fast at it, I guess. But like, yeah, 5 hip is it's dope. It's just downhill, huge hip. It goes so far, and I think it's just like a bush that stops it, not a pillar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah, that's got to be incredible, man. So there's actually you're mentioning downtown spots and everything, and kind of how some of the Toronto dudes are kind of weird about downtown. They don't really like riding downtown anymore. So one of the most famous spots, which was the curved wall ride right at the CN Tower, unfortunately came down a few years ago, and they took it out, which like really brought a lot of the options for why you would want to go downtown.
It was like not everyone could even ride it, but like just seeing a curved wall ride in real life, for me, before I could go around it, was like, yeah, it was crazy. Because I grew up seeing that. Yeah, the first time I saw that spot, I don't think I could go around it. So, yeah, iconic, right?
We have a really good brick curved wall ride in town, but it's a 90 curve with 2 flats on it. So, like, you can hop into the flat and then go into the 90. But there's nothing like that one. That one was so good. It was a 180, and there were so many options out of that thing, too. Like, Silva, I'm pretty sure Silva whipped out of it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did, like, a down whip out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I know am I right to think he barred out of it? I know somebody barred out of it.
A lot of stuff's been done out of it.
Yeah.
I wish, Silva would kill me. I should know but, yeah, I'm pretty sure I want to say Silva barred out of it. Like, but lots of stuff got. It was so good. It was kind of. It wasn't. I'm not gonna say it was like tilted, but it just had like 2 degrees of tilt on it, just enough to make it like. That spot was good. Rest in peace.
Yeah, unfortunately, eh? And then the manual pads right across the street are obviously still there. That was a great spot.
Dude, they're still there, and that's a good example. I went there and got clips the last time I went there, and like, yeah, so you can get clips on a spot forever, and it's not like I would not say that I'm a better rider when I like when I rode there now than like of many other times I've been there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I wouldn't say people are weird about it or whatever, but there's lots of stuff to ride that is more interesting, I think, in Toronto. Downtown is okay, something I mentioned is that there's so many people and the spot's kind of a bust and blah blah. So that trip to Toronto, man, I got off the plane and I was just like ripping it. I was like a cat out of a cage. Like I just wanted to ride through, I literally said that, right? I just want to ride through traffic, rip around. I just want to be downtown. It was kind of like the sun was not coming, like the sun was down early. It was dark out and stuff early, and it just felt like I was 16, 17, like in Toronto, ripping around, riding these spots, because maybe we didn't know anything better. There's definitely like so much better stuff, right? Like just a couple subway stops away, but downtown is just classic.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the Lakeshore Rails right around the corner, and there's an awesome brewery around there. And I'm a craft beer guy, so I love it. Yeah, but there's so many good spots like just downtown, and then when you start going out from there too, like Toronto's just filled with legendary stuff. There's a reason why people, still ride there a lot. There's a reason why there's such a huge BMX community there.
Shout out to Silva, man. Look at his Instagram. It's got like new spots like all the time, constantly, all the time. And he's doesn't like really have to leave Toronto that much. Like he's not leaving from what it looks like.
Dude, he came out to my jam with Ruthless Aussie, if you know Ruthless Aussie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they came out to my jam, and in typical Aussie fashion, Aussie was like 4 or 5 hours late, but Silva, I think that's the only time he really left Toronto this year, was to come to my jam, and he rode like one spot and then just hung out for the rest of the day. And it's like, dude's got it too good, man. Toronto is fucking awesome, apparently.
Yeah, it's got it's got good stuff. I think he's got it under control there. It's like all the I would say I asked Silva to come back here one time, and this, I don't know, obviously he's got shit going on or whatever, but I remember him saying that there's a trick here he didn't do that was kind of that he would want to do, and that was like his reason to me for not coming. Like, oh no, like I don't want to look at that fucking rail setup again. You know what I mean? And so I think in Toronto, it's like if you live somewhere, you have your biggest, baddest years there. He's still doing big stuff, but he's done all the biggest, baddest stuff that he's worried about doing, I think, which is rare. Like not a lot of BMX riders get to check that stuff off their list. And I don't want to speak for Silva or whatever, but to me from the outside, it looks like he's checked every box of like big stuff he could do in Toronto on the big spots, the famous spots or whatever. He's got like his name signed on all those, like right, that brown curve wall ride even, like he's got his name signed on all that shit. So I think that's pretty rare. And like if I was that hardly settled into a city, I would like never want to travel either. I would never need to.
Yeah, completely understandable, man. And I think you're really hitting the nail on the head there when you say every BMX rider has spots that, scare the shit out of them that they'll probably never do, but they'll always think about. And, to kind of transition on that, in the grinding video that you guys released on Repset, there is a roof-to-roof drop that somebody does. I forget his name, and I feel really bad for that. But why don't you shout him out, and I'll play the clip for the recording here.
I think it's Paul Santos. Is it like a roof?
Yes, it
flat?
Is. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Shout out to Paul Santos. He's crazy boy.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about kind of what happened that day, because this clip is fucking wild, dude.
Clips like that don't happen like in your hometown, I think. Like that was on a trip where you're just like all in a parking. If you sit in a parking lot and watch some people ride a handrail for like 30 minutes, a roof like that starts looking like a rideable spot, I think, pretty quick. So, yeah, we were just on a trip, and that's a school in Kenora, Ontario, which is yeah, there's some crazy riders from Kenora, Ontario. Shout out to who's from Kenora? Carl Engstrom, is that who I'm thinking of?
I
So
think you're right, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's a school in Kenora. It looks like it's kind of recently built, but it has a bunch of crazy handrails. Just yeah, like what that yeah, it is Carl Engstrom. Yeah, so what Carl's known for, just crazy handrail moves, because it's got a lot of them there. But yeah, that's it. Paul was just kind of staring at that roof, probably doing dabs in the car or something, cruising around, and like, yeah, we just bust. I don't know. You get 10 guys telling you to do something that it's a good idea, and it was a good idea. Like it worked. Like it's kind of mellow drop off. You didn't have to like hop anything. Couldn't really clip. You just had to pull up and yeah, and do it. I think it took him. I think he did it first try. I can't remember, man.
God damn, that guy's an animal, man. Dude, when I look at that spot, the thing that scares me is that you start to go down. Like your front
Yeah.
tire is lower than your rear tire when you're pulling off. And that's always a bad sign, like at least from personal experience.
Yeah, but then like if there's nothing to clip, that I think that's a little easier to deal with. If I had to choose between the two, like a curb, height, lip of a roof that might usually be there, and like you wouldn't ride off something if it had like some other shit. That was kind of part of. Yeah, it worked though. It was kind of like, yeah, it was a nice roof. It's rideable.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's such a great spot, man. And to kind of go off of that, that is one of those spots that I think, like we were saying, everybody's going to look at it, but nobody's going to try it until one fucking guy does,
Yeah, yeah. I love that shit. Just opening up spots or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then also, right after that, in the grinding video, there's a very awesome video part from, and I'm probably butchering his name, Sean Franz. Is that right?
That's exactly it, man.
Fuck yeah, there we go. That is the first time that I have gotten somebody's name right in quite a while. Anyways, yeah, his video part is so great, and in my personal opinion, it's probably one of the best parts in the video, if not the best one. He's just got such a great...
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, such a great, unique style of riding, and his spot usage is incredible. So,
Yeah.
I would assume you did some of the filming for that video, so I guess you would probably, would have filmed with him. What's that like?
Yeah, so I filmed I'd filmed most of that video, like 80% of it maybe. My buddy, shout out to Dennis Burnett, Menace204 on Instagram. He contributed a lot of footage for that, but either we were filming it together, or I was filming it solo, and I went out with France solo a lot, like a lot, and yeah, dude, he's super, super good to film with. Like, I love filming with France. He's, not only is he just good, obviously, he's so dialed, it doesn't really take, like too long, but he's also just patient with me as a filmer, and he's receptive to like collaboration. Like he'll he wouldn't mind tweaking a line or tweaking even a trick choice or a spot choice for it to look better or for it to kind of work better as a, like, from a filmer side vision or whatever, right? So he's always really good. He's always down to, like, he's the type of guy you can ask to do something again one more time, and like, he's fine. Yeah, knock on Kermali or whatever. I never really seen him like, crash too hard. But shout out to France. He's got to take it easy because of some foot issues now, but I think he's just getting her all welded together and kind of cruising lower impact stuff, like cruising the bowl and the jumps here and stuff like that a little more. But yeah, dude, France is so good. Like, so good.
Yeah, such great spot usage, you know? And like in the comments on YouTube for this video, there was a few people that had like time-stamped certain clips that he had, and it's like there's more people time-stamping his clips than anybody else's, which is kind of
Yeah.
like, ugh, but you know,
It's buried
he's
in there,
good.
man. Like, yeah, I don't think a lot of people really saw that video. We didn't like push it too hard or whatever. But yeah, like I've been putting up clips recently from. I found a hard drive, man, like such an old hard drive that I thought was. I presume that I had either like erased this thing by accident and then thrown the case in the garbage, or that someone had stolen it from the shop, like just pocketed it at Floodway. We let people do tours and shit, but man, I have a wife, so that's what happened to it. Is like, oh, it's in your box of stuff that like I never, yeah, I don't know about this box, and I sure as shit didn't put it like in the back of the closet. So I'm so stoked to have found this hard drive. I've been posting footage from that, and someone said like, why have I not seen this stuff? And yeah, I don't know. I don't. We didn't push it so hard. So go watch that video. Yeah, grinding mixtape. All the boys worked super hard on it. Franz, like, yeah, Franz. I would say Franz, no offense. Franz did like worked hard, but not. That's his deal. He's so easy to film with, right? It was a pleasure. I'm super stoked on the way his part came together. Has kind of his buddies in there as a mix kind of thing, right? And yeah, came out dialed. He's so good.
Yeah, so while we're on this topic, let's talk about some of your clips in here. So right off the bat, one of my favorite clips in this video. It's just so unique, and that's why I love it. It really reminds me of a guest we had not so recently, but Tate Rose Kelly. Yeah, it's the tire ride across all the toilets, and it's just such a funny thing. But it really shows the kind of rider that you are, and the way that you'll just take advantage of that situation, because it's not like that's a spot, like
Yeah,
it's going to be gone very fast. That's a 15 minutes of fame, like toilet spot for sure.
it's there like now. Greg Henry calls it. He said it to me one time. He called it a live spot. He said, "Oh, I love like live spots," and that's it. It's like it's ready to go. It's there right now, and yeah, nothing really special to it. It was just like, I can't believe there's 8 toilets here lined up in a row, and when they've got their lids down, it's like it might as well be a ledge. Like, yeah. So I don't know. We just dragged them out and tried not to. I tried I tried to film a toilet clip like before. I've tried to film one and broke the toilet before I could like get it done. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
prematurely smashed the toilet. So I was just trying to be careful and like think of something easy to do and just rip across them. Yeah, bang the toilet. So that's street riding 101. It's just like not everything is. I love stuff that is always changing, or stuff that's live, or I'm really into normal ass shit that just might be hard to ride or is temporary, so I'm the only one who was able to ride it. And like, I don't know, maybe I refer back to Chris Silva signing his name on shit, and like I like doing that too. And some of those things are real easy when it's like a live spot or something like that. Like, yeah, there is no one up for that, which is not something I'm like worried about, but that signature just like is bolder, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Clip. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And then later on in the video part, your ender comes up, and that clip is fucking wild. So I'm going to keep letting this play behind me. But your ender clip is insane. So it's...
what is it? What can you remind me what it is?
Yeah, so your ender is a feeble grind down a very steep, wide rail at like an apartment complex or something. And what makes this clip so crazy to me is the fact that there's a big drop on the one side, and that is like, whenever you get into those kind of rails with a big drop on the other side, and especially with a feeble, and like if you miss your front tire, you might go into crook, or it's going to completely, wash out and you are going over the bars. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like full balls to the wall, like so rad.
I gotta post the raw footage from that. I've been wanting to do that one for a long time. That's a spot in Winnipeg. It's called like Man, okay, that spot is so old that I used to call it the red motel rail. It's a motel, is what it is.
Yeah.
So the hallway I'm coming down is like the second floor hallway outside all the motel rooms, and then stairs down to the parking lot or whatever. And so like, yeah, when I first came to Winnipeg, Dave McNabb showed me this spot because it's on Pembina Highway in Winnipeg, which is a really big, not an actual highway. It's just like a 6-lane like divided street, like 60-kilometer-an-hour street here.
Yep.
But you can see that fucking rail. Like if you drive by with your mom, like you can see that rail. It's just like right there, and it's both sides too. There's nothing really stopping you from doing either side. They both are there. So it's kind of I don't know. I don't want to say it's famous in Winnipeg. As far as I know, I don't think anyone's grinded it or really done anything other than that feeble grind, but skaters have hit it. So it's always been like the red motel rail, but now it's like pink, I think. Like that's what I was saying. It's so old that now it's like the pink Pembina rail. Like kids would call it something different now because it's totally different color, but it's just been sitting there forever. And that's like a good one to just like, you know, sometimes I like when something's just like how has this not been signed yet? You know, like how has someone not feebled this rail? Because you're not going to double peg it, really. To be fair, like feeble is like wasn't really a choice as much as just like, ooh, what's the like what's the like default thing? If I was being serious, I would love to like tire ride it or something, because that's kind of along the same lines and just quick on and off, like not too much. You know, if you miss, it's like you miss and you're just down on the ground. It's not too much like crazy shit going on. It's not like another 20 stairs in front of you to roll down or whatever. So it's kind of like, it wasn't, yeah, I don't know. It's doable. It was one of those things I wonder why people didn't do it earlier. Right?
Yeah, fair enough. And I feel like tire ride would be the only thing that you could do to one up that trick, or like, you know, maybe a Smith grind. Like a Smith grind would be insane on that.
Yeah, it's so steep. Like, yeah, and then, yeah, Smith grind is where something could, if something went wrong, you're already kind of like too far forward committed to really get out of it.
Yeah.
Too easy. Like, I feel like if you're hopping into a tire ride and something goes wrong, you could kind of like let it all go a little easier than if you're that far forward. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really trying to go back. And just, yeah, it's one of those things. I just couldn't believe that someone that hadn't really been grinded, or maybe it has, you know, we had some crazy BMX riders who come from here, like Jason Enns and Dave Asato and shit like that. So it's kind of I got tread. Yeah, I don't want to say no one's ever done it, but yeah, footage or fiction, as they say, right?
Absolutely. And I just want to say, because you pointed that out, that is one of my favorite shirts that you guys did. And I don't know if they're on the site. I don't believe so.
No, they're not. Like, I should bring it back. It's
absolutely, like, you should. That is like,
that shirt didn't really hit like as good back then as it might now.
I'm buying one of those, man. You fucking bought, dude. Make them again, and I will buy one. That's for sure.
We just came up with that here. You know what? Like, it's funny. Like I mentioned that, and so I should say, you sent me some questions before, and I saw that on there. So it got me thinking about it. But it's like, at the same time, I noticed here that I prematurely apologized for maybe speaking on a spot that someone, you know. And I thought that was interesting now, looking back 10 seconds later, because like there's a lot of that here, maybe in every scene, where it's like, oh no, like that guy did that 10 years ago, and it's like, bro, that came from our scene here, where it just got to a point, not that anyone was mad about it, me especially. It was just like, yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm like, not necessarily, I don't need to be the first person to do it. I'm the first person to film it, at least, which is like its own thing. Like, how would you not film something? There's a caliber of thing, obviously, right? Some things you just don't film, you did them, but like, you wouldn't grind that rail and not film it. Just for fun or something like that. So there's a lot of shit like that in Winnipeg where it's like, no one grinded that, man. Show, like, footage or fiction is where it came from. Just show it.
Dude, fair enough. One of those things that I always hear about, and I know for a fact because I've talked to people that like know the spot, and it's pretty widely known that this hasn't happened, but I still meet people that fully believe it happened was that Stevie Churchill three-whipped El Toro. I'm like, no, he didn't. He trucked it, and maybe he thought about three-whipping it if Began was going to session it with him, but I
Yeah,
know for
yeah.
a fact he did not three-whip it. And
Yeah, I
that's
think I
like,
remember the interview you're talking about. It was like a talking interview
yep.
with Stevie about it or something, or no, it might have been a Ride article or something,
So
just saying like what the story was, right?
it was a thing with the come up, where basically they were, talking about that entire day. It's about a 10-minute long video where they
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about how they went there on, like, Stevie planned on sessioning it, and Began, the biggest stair set that he had half capped
yeah.
at that point was
Shook him
like,
off.
yeah,
Vegan shook him off the session. Yeah,
yeah, basically.
that sucks.
Yeah, there was so much going on in there, and I don't believe Stevie says what he was going to do down it. I know that he apparently threed it just to warm up, and then he trucked it, and then Brandon came and tried to half cab it, got super close on the first one, and then on the second one, that's where it all went wrong. And I fully do believe that, like, had Began landed it, it would have been three whipped for sure. Like,
Yeah.
Stevie has three whipped, like fucking 12 stair, 14 stair, and that was like, in his prime when he truck drivered that set. That was like Stevie in his greatest moments there.
Yeah, he stomped it so good too. Like, yeah, I want to say like you could see it in his face that he was like, because I remember describing this bang it or someone, you're watching it with your buddies, and we watched this together back in an apartment I had, and I remember just being like, this kid is just like, this guy didn't even like, he was just like, yeah, like, he didn't like celebrate. It looked more, and now that you bring it up, it just makes me think it looked more like he was like, yeah, I could fucking three-whip that.
Yeah, you could tell just by the way he landed that he was there to do business. He was ready to fucking go down. Yeah.
He just knew that was a good one. I like when that, I like when people land like that. It was just like, yes, sir. That was like I trucked that shit. Right?
Yeah, that was definitely not over rotated like Mike Hoder's 360 down it. That was like a fucking 450. I cannot believe he pulled that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I want to see that set in person. I don't have anything for it now, but yeah, it looks nice.
Have you ever thought about any tricks that you would do down it if you had went there in your prime?
Well, think about like, so when that Hoder clip came out, or what year do you think that was?
That Hoder threed it? Like, easily 10 years ago.
Yeah,
easily.
So I probably would have been like feeling really good about riding right then. And because I feel like thinking, like, my gut memory of it is that, like, I thought at a point, like, oh, yeah, I would three that thing. Because I've definitely, why else would I care, right? It's like, I don't really take my hands off the bike or my feet very often, so it's really only, like, one choice for me. And, yeah, I definitely must have thought about it, right? Like, oh, I would three that, but not anymore. I guess now that people can just truck it kind of easily, my timing is all off, right? I wouldn't three it just for fun, but maybe I would. Like, I don't know, because I don't really care about like it being obviously I care about it being done, right? But I don't care about that factor as much anymore, right? That's kind of a problem too, because without that factor, I'm not as like motivated to go three this big set. Like, if it was, imagine that clip came out and I was on a trip in LA at the time, I'd be like, we should go there. Like, I'll do it. Like, that's crazy. And it'd be like, and now I think like I would never do that now. Like, it's just pure disrespect or whatever. I'd maybe ask. I'd be like, well, can you ask like Mike if like he's gonna go back, if you're gonna go back for it? I probably would have wanted to do that then too, or maybe if I was in a trip in LA, I might have used that as an excuse not to do it. Well, guys, like, he would probably not be down. Like, he'd probably not take that nicely. But yeah, so I could definitely have seen a situation where it was like, ah, fuck, like, I'd want to do it. It looks all nice and perfect and blah blah. But yeah, these days I think I just want to go look at it. But yeah, it'd be tempting to. Yeah. Tempting 60. It looks nice. It looks like, from what I've seen, it looks like it has No, it has. I was gonna say it has. It's not a downhill landing. It's got like a downhill
Running.
like take off and then an uphill kind of landing. So
Yeah,
apparently,
yeah, it's more uphill on the landing apparently, from what I've heard. However, when I was in my prime, when I was filming for my two videos that we did, there was a moment where I did a gap down just a straight gap down a 16 stair, and it was on a cracked frame, and I knew that it was cracked, and I landed in manual and fucking did not snap the bike somehow, and there was something that like I really wanted to nollie it, but I knew that if I nollied it, I wouldn't land in a manual. I would land two tires and I would be dead. So I
yeah.
didn't do it, but that was always on my mind was like I would love to go there and nollie that stair set. And now, only a few years later, and I'm still young. I'm only 24. Even
No way.
now, no fucking way I'd be doing that. Like that is so large, you know?
Yeah, some stuff you just don't need to go back to or whatever. It's like it's kind of because what even is BMX is just like your mental battle with some architecture. Like you tell yourself you can do it, and then you don't want to talk yourself out of it, and next thing you know, you're like smashing this out, and yeah, so there's some stuff I'm not trying to go back to, but yeah, I don't know why I didn't go to El Toro when I was in LA. I stopped at I was with my wife. I went to a screen printing trade show, so brought my BMX bike, but I don't know. I just wasn't trying to. I should say I was with my wife and my son was like super young, like 6 months old. Like he was like baby, like not even toddler, but like a baby. So I was like not trying to ride too much. I rode the Long Beach skate park, but I remember stopping and like looking at Hollywood High when we drove by, and like yeah, it's crazy just us talking about it now. This is I guess what I explained to my wife Lindsay. Like it's nuts that those spots are so iconic, and that I can think back to thinking about riding them, and that must have been 10 years before ever even like having an opportunity to be near it, right? It's crazy that Hollywood High is something you can picture, right, in your head. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, how do I know? I know nothing about this city that we're in. It's both of our first time, but I know that like grubby handrail, I know like everything about it, right? I could
Yeah.
tell you how many fucking stairs are behind that fence, and you'd think I was crazy.
Dude, what I think this really goes good with it is that BMX is so weird in that way that like I run a spot page on Instagram where I just post like all the spots around here just as like, a backlog, or you can go and find them while you're out for filming or whatever. And
Yeah.
one of those things is like, could you imagine if just some random fucking person that has no idea about BMX found this on Instagram? What would they think? They'd be like, why is this just a bunch of photos of handrails and like
Yeah.
architecture? And it's not good photos, it's just weird photos. Like, what is
Like
this?
pure documentation of like
Yeah, they'd be like, "What
this
the fuck
spot.
is
Yeah.
going on?" You know. And when you think about it, it's like BMX is so weird that way. Where like, most street riders they will geek out over, a fucking handrail, or like, if I was at El
Yeah.
Toro, like my girlfriend would not understand why I'd be freaking out about it. She would just be like, "I don't get it. It's a stair set." Like, it's like this stair set has had fucking
Yeah. At the same
legendary
time,
shit
I'm
done on
looking
it.
at it too, right? I'm just like, you don't need to see much. Like I didn't look at Hollywood High very long, but it's just like, it's like as if that's so remarkable that it's like, yeah, this is a stair set. This is like the stair set. Like, right? It's iconic in its own way for our little like subculture, weird thing, right?
Yeah, I feel like I would be like so nerdy about that whole thing, man. I'd be taking so many photos and like looking at every angle, thinking about how, certain people did tricks down it. Meanwhile, anybody that's from LA, right? Like any of
They think you're a nerd, man. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like anybody that's from there would be like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like why are you so over this thing?"
have you ever been somewhere that's like that where you're seeing like a video part, like or something like that?
Oh yeah, dude. So years ago for our video Space Goats, we went to Montreal, and that was like Montreal
Yeah.
has always been the city for me where like I've
Yeah.
always saw shit, in videos, and I've always wanted to go. And when we went to the Big O, that was like it blew my fucking mind, dude. I literally sat there and looked at it for like a good 10 minutes and was just visualizing everything that went down there. And then we rode it for quite a while. And my profile picture on Facebook was that for like 2 years was me like carving really high in the oververt and like just so gnarly, you know? And then we move down a little bit and there's that crazy like 20 stair or 25 stair with the ledge that's super wide. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I know. Like it's like is it a kink ledge?
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's gnarly. It's fucking huge. That thing scared the shit out of me, and I looked at it. I really wanted to go and like gap to tire ride down it, but it was just so gnarly.
It's all set up for it and everything. Like, yeah, that place. Man, Montreal was the first BMX trip I think that I ever really went on. I went with my buddy Stefan and my buddy Johnny, and like we were always going to Toronto. We like camped out in Johnny's aunt's backyard. Who, like we talked about, what if someone saw an Instagram page? Like, what if your aunt like had her nephew come and all they wanted to do was camp in the backyard and not. Like, we didn't give a fuck about anything. Like, trying to hang out with his family or, like see... We didn't even want to hear anything about what's not good to do in Montreal. Like, imagine how weird that'd be. Someone comes to your house and, like, we're like, nah, we're fine. We're just literally going to go out and wander around on these bikes. And I met this dude, Ace, and Mike Fizz, who's, like, a Montreal OG. And man, like that trip was life changing. That's where this love for traffic came through. Like Mike Fizz ripping us through traffic the wrong way down the streets, and it was just so much crazier than Toronto traffic that we had ever ridden. And like, yeah, it was so good. Like he just brought us up these crazy hills, man, to the school and to the university and to all these kind of downtown spots. And then we rode the what is it? The Olympic Stadium is called. Yeah, we rode that kind of on our own terms, but that's what opened my eyes to BMX, was going to Montreal and just seeing these BMX riders, these two guys, like kind of from like half a block away and being like, yo, and them being like, yeah, we'll show you around all fucking day, all day. So sick. Like, yeah, I say we pedaled all those miles, but so did Mike too, you know, just showing our little asses around. And I was a kid, man, like an actual kid. Like 14, maybe 15 years old. Like we were super young. I don't think we were like drinking beers in the backyard or anything. Like we were straight up kids.
Yeah, there was a lot of tall cans smashed on my trip there. Like I bought a 2-4 of like different Ontario craft beer that I like, and I put it in the car, and within like the first 2 days it was gone. And it was like one of those things where every spot we would go to, I would set up the camera. But, like, before I would set up the camera, I would crack a beer, set up the camera, get everything ready, and then you'd just have a filming beer, and you'd be ready, right? Because I'm the filmer, so, like, I was behind the camera the whole time. I actually didn't get a single clip in Montreal for my video part. It was...
that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I had some stuff in mind, but I just didn't do it. There was this 360 that I really wanted to do down this big 5 block, and it was just not the right time for it. It was like the day before we were leaving. So, you know, I've already been fucking running around all week, like doing all this shit. And there was just countless people. Like I had asked these people to move, and then there's just more people at the bottom. And I don't know, man. I just really wasn't feeling it. I gapped it a couple times, and I was like, this is like... It's a good spot. It's the perfect stair set, and I really should have done it. That's always like my biggest regret, is I know I could have 360'd that.
You gotta go back then. That's all it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
beers, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. As you said, though, you got to ride near the universities and go down those hills. We actually were staying about 10 minutes from there biking. Like, we were so close to the universities that on our first night, you know, we had rode all these skate parks on the way up. We left my place in Kitchener at 7 in the morning, and we didn't get to Montreal until about 10:30 at night, and then we were out riding until about 3 in the morning the next day. just ripping around, so excited. And it was unreal, man. Like, especially going down those huge hills with a 80-pound camera bag on you, like
Yeah.
stoned on dabs.
It's a good time. Like, yeah, I've always had a super good time. I should mention Mike Fizz took us to like, so what year did you go? Like, did you get to ride ugly ass bikes when you were there?
No, I don't think we did.
Man, quick shout out to you'd remember if you did, man. Like, quick shout out to ugly ass bikes. That's Liam Mulrooney and Mike Fizz on our first day there. He took us to this place. So ugly ass bike was a man. From what I remember, it seemed like a cooperative, like a punk rock venue and a BMX skate park. And so the place was just like, man, it's kind of like my shop here that I have now. It's just through a door into some building, and then it's like, how is there a screen printing shop like this in here? So that's what it was like. It was like, there's a skate park in here, and it was just like, I'd never been. I'd been to industry where you got to wear a helmet and shit, and like we didn't have helmets and we didn't have money, and no one gave a shit. We just rode there a little bit. I think it was rain. I think it was because it was raining or something. We just rode there a little bit. And like, man, so every time we went back after that, like, actually, I only rode it one time after that on a trip with somebody else. I left a pair of gray on gray low-tech Brooklyns there, and I was so mad about it. I'm still mad now, obviously, bringing it up. But yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to this place because Liam, that dude has given like so much to BMX over the years, and that place was, yeah, you ask anybody in Montreal, like that's their, yeah, that would be on their, I don't know, what would you call it? That's like on their Hall of Fame or their shrine. So shout out to Ugly Ass Bikes. That place was just crazy. If you ever talk to Dylan Lloyd, I'd love you to like pick Dylan Lloyd's brain if you haven't already. But yeah, he grew up. Those are the wolves that raised Dylan Lloyd. So imagine what that place is like.
Yeah, goddamn, dude, that's got to be gnarly.
I should have said that from the start, right? Like,
yeah.
This place is where, like, these are the crazy people who raised Dylan Lloyd into the animal that he is today.
Yeah, that kid is fucking wild, dude. There's a clip that I don't know if I've shown it on the show before, but it's definitely been talked about where it's like one of those sketchy fire escape railings, and he tries to do a double peg down it and misses the front peg and goes all the way over, and it's like a 15-foot drop to cement, like flat, and no saving yourself on that. And he fucking ate it so hard. And what I saw on his Instagram, he actually talked about how that was the day that he decided to start, like, bodybuilding and getting into being really fit.
I was gonna say that's how I remember it, and like, it makes so much sense. Like, he's the type of dude, I think, who wants to ride a really long time. And yeah, man, like, you got to start on that shit early, taking care of yourself. You said you're 24 now. Now's the time, I think, where you decide whether you're going to seize up or whether you're going to like try and keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, my back is fucking hurting right now, and I've been sitting in this chair all day. And I'm like, that's not good,
Yeah, so now 24. That's it. It's like, if you don't take that action against, like, not seizing up, yeah, now's the time to make that decision. Because it'll be too late in a couple of years. Like, yeah, you got to touch those toes, buddy.
Fair enough. I've never been able to touch my toes, so we're going to start doing that soon. I'm like, that's really good advice.
That's a bit of a tangent, but I should say, like, man, I had a little time where, like, I was hurting my back, and, like, I hurt my back twice, both from, like, just bunny hopping over something, like, or one was, like, sessioning a manual, and one was just hopping over something where I didn't necessarily, like, feel like I pulled my back, but just after that session of, like, hopping stuff, it got tighter and tighter and tighter, and I was, like, hurting, and that was kind of my thing where I'm like, okay, this is fucked, like, I need to figure something out. So long story short, all I did, it worked for me, is just, like, tried to touch my toes. Like, I just try and touch my toes in the shower, and I can touch the floor now. And I don't really have, like, I wouldn't say it's my, like, back issues holding me back on a bike, like, these days anymore, right? It's like I feel a lot better just from loosening up my tight-ass thighs from being hunched over like one of these bikes for so long, right? Yeah, get that back in tune, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And even over the past like few years, I've really noticed that like, you know, it was only 3, 4 years ago that I could just hop on a bike and instantly start doing like, all
Yeah.
of my tricks. And right now it's like I got to warm up. I got to take about 10 minutes to really pedal around, hop around, do everything you need to do, And then I can get there. But yeah, beforehand it was like instantly hop on the bike, feeble 360 right away, and it's like now I got to feeble the ledge for a couple minutes and really,
Yeah.
get into her.
I just used to not like yeah, I don't know. We were partying so hard back then, and I just used to not really sleep and like just probably still be drunk in the morning and dumb shit like that, and like I could not. I don't think I could do it now. Well, that Texas trip was kind of hard. That's probably the last time where, thank God, my foot was like hurt and that we weren't trying to like film hard, or at least I didn't. Like I said, I didn't really realize or think where those clips were going or anything like that, right? But yeah, man, like it was tough, just like eating crazy and sleeping like crazy and drinking crazy all the time. Like I don't think I drank water. I think I just drank beer the whole time, and like it's just a mess.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That'll do it, right? Um,
Yeah, that's what I used to just be fine doing, I guess, for like probably 10 years straight, just like grinding.
there you go, man. Anyways, let's move on to Repset. So I cannot believe we're already an hour in. This is awesome, by the way. This is going really good.
Yeah, I don't mind at
Um,
all. I'm having a good time.
hell yeah. So at what point did you decide to start Repset? And let's talk a little bit about what Repset is first. So for anybody that doesn't know, Repset was probably the biggest Canadian BMX blog ever. It was huge, It was before the Northern Embassy. It was before even the come up, So it was quite a big deal. You really got in there pretty early. And since then, you guys have moved along to more of just being a crew and giving back to the community, as well as selling merch and whatnot, which is really cool. I think that you guys have transitioned really well. And when you first
Word.
started, I know that it was a lot of BMX riding, music, and then also like fashion stuff as well, right?
Yeah, work. Because it started as just like it started as corybeal.blogspot.com. And I should make sure. I'm just gonna type. I wonder if that's still a thing. It's probably not, but so it started as corybeal.blogspot.com. Blogspot was like the original blog, and I guess the reason that I had Blogger was back in the day. Like I don't even know how to describe this to where to start with this, but you wouldn't be able to like host pictures, right? Like how would you? There wasn't really an easy way to show people pictures, say like a gallery of photos. You couldn't like go on Facebook, make a gallery of photos, and just be like, here they are, because well, there was no Facebook. You had MySpace. I don't think MySpace even had a blog, so you could like upload your profile. You could change your profile picture or something like that, but nothing that you could report on here, right? And so it started as. Can you hear that car coming?
Oh yeah, very loud.
I'll give it a sip.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a beer while you do that.
I should do the same. Hold up.
Yeah, of course.
Yo.
There we go.
So yeah, I'm just like right on this street with. There's like a fire station kind of up the street, and it gets a little crazy in here sometimes. You can hear it through the whole shop. And
Damn,
we're on the fourth floor, so it's kind of like excessive. I wonder what it's like closer to the street.
Yeah. So, quick question about that then. Is the shop like, do you guys live kind of upstairs of the shop? How does that work?
No, so I got this place. It's the fourth floor of like this 100-year-old building, kind of downtown Winnipeg. And it's just the shop. So I live in Osborne Village, which is just over the bridge, like a 10-minute. I live like a 10-minute pedal away, and kind of another neighborhood, like a different dense neighborhood, just over the bridge. And it's like 4,000 square feet, just right downtown. I live super close by, and it's just kind of that's where I am now. It's just where I can have my office. I can't really like. I work here, right? So I kind of got to the point where a home office was not
Wasn't needed really.
It was like a duplicate of my office here,
Yeah.
and just ended up being kind of like, oh, I should just make one kind of the spot that I want to be at. So it's just like yours with like, I don't know, BMX shit around and just stuff like that. And I would come, like, for example, I would come here to do something like this in the evenings, or
Yeah.
just chill, work on my shop or whatever, right? And yeah, so I don't live anywhere. I would like to maybe, I don't know, it'd be cool to have a building with, like, yeah, living on top and having the shop and maybe some other stuff, but
I think it would be cool for a little while, and then it would get really old, right? Because, like, you would never leave. You would only be leaving for,
yeah,
whenever you're going riding or anything like that, where, like, my dad, his tattoo shop is right down the street from his house, but it's close enough that he can skate there, and it's also far enough away that it's not
yeah.
like, he's got a couple minutes before he's, I don't know,
It's
there.
that
You get some
degree of
fresh air.
separation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of have it too, where it's just, yeah, 10 minutes is like, it's just far enough that I don't really, like, I don't really hang out here if I'm not hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get stuck, or like, because yeah, it'd be a lot easier to like catch yourself spending all night here, like sitting here till 2 a.m. or something. Like
Definitely.
When Lindsay goes to bed, imagine you're sitting on the couch with your lady, right? And she's like, "Oh, I'm tired," and I'm like, "I'm not." Like, I'd probably go to the shop if it was only downstairs,
Yeah,
and
I
then
can.
I'd never sleep. Like, it would just be the worst, right? So I don't live in the spot.
Yeah, that makes
Sometimes it
sense though.
feels like it, but
Yeah, with me, like, my studio, as we'll call it, is it's in my apartment, right? So, like, we are lucky enough that we got a 2 bedroom for a ridiculously cheap price, and it's enough space that, like, I've got one whole room to myself, and then
right.
she's got a room for all of her plant stuff and whatnot, and, like, it works really well. And you wouldn't really think that it's in, like, I don't know. I've had people come in here and they're like, I had no idea that this was in your house. Like, I thought this was like completely somewhere else. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But um,
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, I had a home office, like I said, for a long time. It is
yeah,
cool. Like, I loved it, but I like the other side of it. I do wish I had somewhere where I could, like, just, it doesn't need to be as kitted out, I guess, as it was before. Like, if I had a home office now, it'd be really minimal. It'd probably be like Lindsay's setup that I could, like, get onto,
yeah,
because I want my shit to be here.
yeah, that makes sense. And like, there's definitely a lot of the time it's not really being used here. Like, I will do all of my normal everyday stuff on my computer, but other than that, it's like I just have all this shit here that, like, doesn't get used. So it's kind of
Yeah.
all like, it takes up a lot of space, and then also this room is like right next to our bedroom. So it kind of sucks for Taylor whenever I'm doing like super late night podcasts. Like when I had Rooftop on the show, he's 3 hours behind because he's in
Yeah,
Cali.
for real, yeah.
Yeah, so we did it at midnight here because it was 9 o'clock there, and he'd put his daughter to bed, and that was like 3 a.m. I'm finishing up, and that's not good for her. Like, she's just got to sit there and listen to me talk in the other room. So, um,
Well, sorry, because yeah, I don't mind.
no,
Yeah, I don't
this is
mind
the way I
that.
do it typically. We're fine right now because it's only 10 o'clock. We haven't even had dinner yet, so we're good. But it's like whenever
Right.
it gets really late, she's not about it, which is fair. Anyways, let's go back to Repset here. So,
Oh yeah.
Repset started back in 2005, and pretty crazy to think that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's nuts, right?
Yeah,
And that's why I was having so much trouble saying, like why did I have a corybeal.blogspot.com? And the reason is because, like, it sounds like I'm plugging it. I don't know what else to call it. It's like the reason I had this, like, blogger site and back in the day was because you'd put it in, or I would put it in my MSN name. So it'd be like Cory Beal, blah blah, Orangeville picks, or Orange. Well, I don't know. Yeah, whatever it was, right? These picks, and it would just have the URL in there. It's like easy to type in, and so it started as just that. And yeah, the shoes thing was, I think, just from, like, man, meeting Ace and Mike. Like, Ace in Montreal at the time was working at a shop called Goodfoot. Goodfoot had a shop in Toronto as well, and they kind of pioneered, like, sneakerhead retail in, I want to say more than just Toronto, right? Because I don't really think there's many people doing like both resale of shoes, kind of out the back type of thing, and also having like just good sneaker drops all the time. So I was really into that at the time, and I don't know why I'm like, it was a, I just like, there weren't riding shoes, right? A lot of the stuff I just was super into, like just sharing like what I was seeing. That's really all it was at the time. Like you mentioned is about like fashion and stuff, and is like, it's all the stuff that I was just seeing and kind of sharing is my way to pass that stuff on. So at first it was just BMX stuff. Like we'd bring our camera out and try and make not even so much edits as just like try and take pictures and stuff like that, right? Like there's pictures of us riding Iceland skate park at night because like it was no bikes at the time and couldn't ride there until after the lights went off and shit like that, and just old photos. And I don't know what happened with like how it became a site. I think I just wanted stuff out of the blog that I couldn't get without having your own website, right? I wanted to maybe post like videos or embed pictures better. And that's kind of how it came to be. Like me and my buddy Stefan came up with this name, like Repset.net. .net addresses were cheaper at the time, so we were kind of just like, it's an old rap thing, just rep your set, because that's what we were doing at the time. Was just like sharing our shit all the time, sharing the stuff that we were stoked on all the time. And yeah, like it was before, I don't want to say it was like before the come up, right? Because well, I don't know. Do you know the year the come up started?
Actually, yeah. So the come up started in 2006. You guys were a year early. And something I really wanted to point out here is that, you guys at Repset have always been very, you guys have always stayed with what you do. Like, you guys liked rap music. You guys still like rap music. You guys still do all that shit. You guys are into, shoe stuff. And I know you guys don't really do much with that anymore. But, like, when you think about it, it's weird that the come up came along and it was about the same shit, It was all the same. Like, and I feel like it's got to be weird, especially to see how far the come up went. But a thing to think about, too, is that the come up's dead, unfortunately. Like, the site's gone. If you actually look up the URL, it goes to like a bookstore, which is really weird. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that he bailed on it. So I love the come up, man. Like I worked with Adam for a little bit. Like I posted on the come up for, I don't know, like maybe 6 months or something. I was a paid blogger, like running it most of the day, like the early morning. I was like the early morning slot type of thing. So only thing notable I would say, like my claim to fame on the comment, is I was the one who posted the Jim Selinsky egg on the head video. So I had the task of like captioning that and like coming up with that, and that was one of the most like commented and like watched things. The Ben Hennon cracking an egg on Jim Selinsky's bald head.
Dude, Jim is the fucking man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I should frame that. I'm glad you mentioned that, so we can frame that a little better. Like, yeah, no shade on Jim or anything, but that video is really funny. I hope he agrees now, looking back, that it was like, I heard it was like that, it was kind of that the whole event was done or whatever, and that like it was kind of just to make Jim look lame. But like, I don't know, like when there's eggs around and you're like the only bald dude, it's kind of, I think that's how it's gonna go or whatever, right? So it was shitty, but I hope now he looks back and realizes that, well, you can't look back now because it's off, the come up's gone, but I remember it. I'm immortalizing that moment.
Yeah.
Doing my part to do it, yeah. So the come up though, like, I have thought about this because, like, Adam was doing really good at the come up at that time, and when I worked for him, and so those thoughts definitely went through my mind, when, especially being like employed there and thinking like, because I saw some of like ad money numbers and stuff like that, and I was just like, shit, like this dude is living off this. That's awesome. Like I was so enthusiastic about that. The fact that he can pay me to help him while he goes and like makes BMX content, I thought that was like I thought that was sick, and I wondered the same thing. Like I don't know, we ran ads, you know. I like took money from like Session Bikes and shit like that, and Transition and whatnot and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like I think the difference is that I wasn't. I'm younger than Adam. I'm 31 this year, and I don't know how old the dude is. You know that he's probably got a.
I feel like he's got to be in his 40s. Like,
He's gonna be easily Googleable now. He's got like a Wikipedia now, so I'm just
yeah.
gonna do that quick. So he now give him some. Yeah, he'll be thinking. He's 36, so he's born
Okay.
in 1980. So he's a little older than me. At this time, remember, I was like 16.
Yeah.
I didn't really like. I don't know. I didn't really. I wouldn't say I had the entrepreneurial mind that I did when I was say 22. I had those signs of stuff, like I was selling fucking stickers at school and shit like that. But I wasn't. I didn't have like the entrepreneurial mind that Adam did. And I think the difference and the reason that that the come up succeeded so hard against, not even against sites like Repset, because it was always niched kind of tighter. But that's it. It was niched, but just BMX. It was pure BMX. Where Repset was like Canadian BMX, which is way smaller of a thing. And it was also sprinkled with that sort of personal like touch of the editing team, which I was mostly like was probably mostly me, but I had so much help over the years. Like shout out to Eric and even Stefan and stuff like that. Like everyone just helped contribute all the time. So, and Dennis too, man. We had so many contributors over the years, and yeah. So I don't think we had the focus, right? So if you're a BMX company and you're trying to spend your ad money and you have to pick between two websites, like if something's niched as hard as Repset was into Canadian BMX, you have to consider like, well, do we want to hit just the Canadian market, or do we want to hit like everything? And looking back now, it's kind of obvious why it wasn't a big thing or whatever, but yeah, just like I never thought of it that way. I was kind of chilling, like I had a job, man. I don't like. So we were doing that. I was working at like a laser tag place and just riding and doing Repset on the side. And then when I moved to Winnipeg, even I was just like working part time and like still just doing it on the side. But I think that when I moved here to Winnipeg finally, I must have been 18, 19 is when it started like not teetering off, but when it shifted from news to more like individual content, shifted away from just trying to document all that stuff, because yeah, it's like it should just go on the come up. Especially I was working there too. It was like it was better to just like put people on there and let it ride there instead of being like, yeah, because when you blog for the come up, what you're looking at is like those sites. You're looking at like those scene websites, because that's where all the content goes first. Like if there's a Canadian video, I would hear about it before someone in LA would, for sure, unless they're watching, I don't know, fucking Bike Guide or something. Which is like what I was doing. Right? So yeah, I don't really ever think that it could like it wasn't like bad thing, not like bummed about it or whatever, but yeah, the come up was really tightly niched in that sort of stuff. And then there's sites like Def Grip. I love, like, yeah, shout out to Harrison Boyce, right? He gave me some advice about BMX. Like, if you want to stay in BMX, pro riding is like a hard way. It's one of the hardest ways to do it, like as a rider. So if you have something like your website, like Repset, and you can use that as your way to stay connected, you can get a job in BMX. Like he was a designer at the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like he said to me, like, yeah, dude, you want to be a pro? You're gonna make what, like a couple $100 a month for like how many years? Like 5 years, like the average. Let's say the average 5 years is like average or whatever. And then what? Like then, yeah, you can work at a warehouse or whatever or something like that maybe. But I loved getting that advice super early, which was like find something that you enjoy doing in BMX. And that was just like seeing people like Chijo and articulating it to the masses or whatever, right? I love the come up, just being like, I could physically see, like I could really see on the come up that my enthusiasm and the way that I wrote this caption really had an effect on how people would would watch it and stuff like that. So I took great pleasure in like in trying to put that effort into everybody, like not just my buddies and stuff like that. When I look back, which I had done before, man, I could see differences in the way I'd write about people I knew personally and shit like that, right? But just trying to put people on, that's what I really like doing. So it was a pleasure working for those guys and like working for the Come Up for that little short time. It just was like, yeah, I don't think it ever was like overlapping or like there was no beef or anything, or yeah, it was just like I was just posting my own shit, like just what we were into at the time. I only focused on Canadian BMX after like, I don't know, I guess I got out of shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Once I realized I wasn't buying them or something, like I got tired of like window shopping them because I was just like a broke kid, and like having that stuff wasn't really something you could do when you're traveling around. And yeah, I guess I more so want to live out of a backpack, and like, yeah, it's always just been a reflection of that. Like even now, the amount that Repset attention it gets, like just this little bit of attention every sprinkling of a sprinkle around is kind of like, it's the same amount that I ride, right? It's always been linked to what I'm doing and where I'm at, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Anyways, you know, to really talk about the come up there, like, it's crazy to think, you know, how well he was able to do everything, and especially when it comes to like, you know, making money and whatnot through it. Because BMX, we all know this. There's no money in BMX. It's very hard to get paid in BMX.
Yeah.
This is why some of the biggest pros don't get big paychecks. You know, you know, without naming off any numbers, like, was it a decent paycheck? Like, you know, that you were getting from the come up? Was it something where it was like, you know, it was a good side thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So me, I'll tell you. So I was working at a desk job. I had a job at a bookstore here working for a BMX rider, and I was like his, I guess it'd be like a virtual assistant, but because I was in a different office, so we talk by phone and whatever. I just get stuff done, and so I was able to work it out where it was like I was already kind of posting on Repset, like we had it kind of figured out like that. It seemed chill, and so I just kind of worked it out where I would take like an hour lunch instead of like a half-hour lunch, and I would do it from this office job where, you know, because I'm sitting here with the screens and I might have like a Twitter feed up and an RSS feed, and so I would just be able to queue stuff to watch at lunch and do it. So I was making like it was $500 a month, so that's like $125 a week ish, because some months are more than others. But
Yep.
at the time that was like $700 like Canadian, and it wasn't for very long either. It was only for like maybe 6 months or something like that. I got replaced with, I don't know, I forget, but a dude who was doing it, I think he was trading it for rent in the Long Beach house.
Oh,
He
damn.
traded
Yeah.
it for like a room in the Long Beach house. I'm like, shit, I would have done that. I didn't say that, but thinking back now, I'm like, I probably would have done that. So, but yeah, it just ended around Christmas, but it just helped me pay down some debt. And like, I was super young, man, because I was like 18. I just moved to Winnipeg. I had this regular ass job, and I was just trying to like get my shit sorted. I think it was from like August to December type thing, June to December.
That's pretty cool, though, man. That's
Sick, yeah.
yeah, that's like such a awesome thing, right? Especially, you know, Adam is one of those people that you either love him or hate him. You know, I've heard so many stories about Adam and like, you know, him not being the greatest guy, but then I've also heard stories about how awesome he is, you know? And I think that just goes to show that when it comes to business, he's going to actually try and help you out, right? Like, you know, he was paying you a decent amount.
Legit.
Yeah.
It was good. Like, you know, and I should say, like, I don't think I know the guy personally. Like, I never really chatted with him deeper than like a business level or like, about BMX shit. It was always like, I hate to say like professional or whatever, but like we shot the shit a little bit about like grimy stuff with girls and whatever, but like for the most part it's just like about BMX and stuff like that. And our contact was like pretty minimal or whatever, and there was never any like beef when I got let go and whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, I wasn't like, I guess I was fired, right? But not like, it was just like, hey, this is like, we're going to switch this up a little bit and like try something else or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. There's lots of reasons to, okay, anybody who puts their life out as much as that guy has, starting even from like BMX board like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And B9, like the hardcore boards back in the day, right? Like B9 never dies, and that shit is like, it's there. That criticism is it's always gonna be there, right? And it's gonna grow. I don't think anyone saw cancel culture growing into what it is today. So he's definitely a dude who I could see people having a really divisive opinion on, like either, yeah, like you said, like really hot or cold about it. And I don't know, for me, I've always seen a dude who just like wants to do what he's doing. He wants to like live his life in a certain way. He wants to, at that time, he wanted to ride and just exist doing that. But he always it's like poker. You're trying to like win and do well at it. He has like that spirit of, even BMX, dude, like he's a good rider, right? So
yeah, he's definitely not bad. That's for sure.
It's not easy to be a good rider, especially, he's a big dude too, like big dude. I've never met him in person, but yeah, fuck, from what I met, he's 6'3", like 200 something pounds. Like he's a big boy.
Yeah.
So, and he's got moves on a bike. He's smooth with it on a bike. He's still riding now at 36. He's still like nice with it. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, I could see people just. I never met him, so I wouldn't be able to say anything. But since he's so out there, it like invites you to form an opinion. And if all you really have is like these old, oh, sorry, I'll wait for.
That's okay. Yeah, just wait. That's all good.
And if all you really have is these old, like if all that's sticking in your mind about a dude is these old stories. Oh, there's another one.
Oh shit! Somebody's getting messed up, eh? That's not good.
But yeah, so if all you have, like, if all you remember about a guy is like, you know, surfingbeans.com and these old like sketchy like, I gotta delete my fucking old Twitter. Like, I don't know what's on there. You can't have Twitter from 2007 and not have like typed something that someone else said that is wildly inappropriate now.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. Looking now, how could you hate a dude who can like, who is financially like set, like he could quit doing what he's doing now and doing it. He's doing what he loves now, which is like, he's always been into rap music.
Yeah.
Like I remember him writing stuff about song jacking, and he just had like a really good mind for like the importance of music culture and how it translated over to BMX. And I thought that was really interesting. It's like making like 2 music videos for a song, and it just doesn't like work as good. It can't have that singular impact. I just remember him having a good mind for music and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love seeing the transition from the come up to this, and it's just like what he's doing with his life, right? It's just, he's interviewing BMX riders, and then like, you know, maybe I can interview other people, like put other people on, and it grew into this huge thing. How could you not? Yeah, just saying, you know, do you get where I'm going with this? Like, anyone who's hating on it, it's like, man, it seems like a really good setup. And like, yeah, it's like I don't know, cancel culture is just a little tough for me, right?
Dude,
like,
yeah. Cancel culture is one of those things where like, I'm not really about it. I think that like, it depends in certain situations, right? Like, I love the fact that cancel culture took down fucking complete monsters like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby and, you know, other people like that, you know, but, you know, if you know anything about comedy, I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy and whatnot. One person that got canceled for basically no reason at all was Aziz Ansari, who basically went on a bad date with a girl, and he was just very forward about what he was interested in, and I don't know, she gave him a blowjob, and apparently she didn't like it, she wasn't into it, but like, she did it, and she didn't say no, she didn't have any of these weird things about it, and like, that dude's career is fucking... You know, it's been affected by that because everything that dude does now, somebody comments on it, And it's like,
But this guy, yeah, this guy thing. I talked about this the other day, playing devil's advocate about it, kind of like, it's like, dude, if you're at the high level of anything, so if you're at a really high level of comedy, I can't imagine personally how you could do that, to be able to read a room, everything that goes into that. I don't know how you could do that and also be a perfectly normally socially adjusted person. And so that, having that like factor is like, ah man, but to obsess over something that hard might like give me the benefit of, or not the benefit, gives me the benefit of the doubt that they'd be able to handle the responsibility that they now have, which is like, when you're on a date with someone and you're super rich and successful and famous, you now have this new responsibility to like, you can't really lead the way as much as you could in another scenario, right? If you like you straight up ask somebody to do something and they say yes, like, and it's an uncomfortable, just your authority, right? It's like you have that authority relationship or whatever. That's really what it is. How could someone who's that like, and yeah, I don't know, I definitely don't want to be victim blaming, or what would the other thing, like, I'm not trying to, yeah, devil's advocate, but man, it must be hard to be famous and have to juggle that. Like, you're not a fucking teacher, you're not a police officer, you're not a doctor, like, you should know better when you're all of those things, right? But when you're a
yeah.
famous person, like, is that not, ooh, I don't know where I'm going with this, because right?
No, I completely get it,
Has
man.
that not been part of famous people culture? Like, what does a groupie even mean? Like, that's popularized and not like negative at all. And so it's a really hard, yeah, I don't have to walk that line, and I'm grateful for it, I guess, is what I'll end that saying on, right? And it's like, you can cancel somebody so easily, myself included. We're not all great people, perfect humans or whatever, but I think that's a dude, at least, that I would give the benefit of the doubt of, like, seeing where he's at now from those negative experience or those negative situations or whatever, seeing where he's at now, because to me, looking at it, it's like he's got like a pretty chill life, right? Like, he's just doing what he loves. And
Dude, that
like,
guy is getting
frankly,
his
yeah,
dick sucked on camera. He's fucking interviewing huge rappers. He's getting paid by people to play their music on his live streams.
to hang out like we're
Yeah,
doing now,
dude,
right?
that's the thing where I'm like, that guy has figured it out, you know? And as much as, like, I don't know, I look at it as like he is such a great influence when you look at business, right? Because he was able to completely transition everything that he was doing so quickly and yet be able to take over a completely different market, right? He saw what was more profitable. And I know that people don't like that. I know that people are like, oh, well, if you're true to this, you should stick with that no matter what the situation is. But, like, at the end of the day, man, you got to get paid. You got to make money. And in his case, you got to get laid on camera, I guess. But
Yeah. And yeah, like, I don't know how any of that stuff, like how you come up with a girlfriend like that, or how any of that stuff went, but I just wanted to comment on, like, it's like he's always been, oh man, I don't even want to use this word, but he seemed like a woke dude, right? Like, you have like a level of yeah, to have say a wife, a wife, she's gonna be the mother of your child, who's a sex worker, is something that a lot of men, most men, are really not comfortable with, right? And so that's why I use the word woke, I guess, right? So when you are at a level of, like, at that sort of scenario, I think that you attract more criticism as well, right? Like, you kind of put yourself in a position of yeah, of attracting more of that too. So yeah, that's all I would say is, like, man, yeah, you're right. It's like he did so much for BMX, and I don't think he went to rap for a profit or whatever. It just kind of evolved that way, maybe.
yeah,
But
definitely. But I do
and
think,
like riding less and stuff like that too. Like,
yeah,
the come up was a grind. That's what I understood it to be at the end of, like, all that shit. Like, it's just a lot of, when you have that many ads. I think there was like 30 sponsors at the time. Like, so
Jesus, yeah.
30 people paying monthly, 30 customers. That's a lot of shit that you basically have to post. And, like, if you're not first, then, like, everyone else credits everyone else, and, like, oh man, it just can get shitty, right? And that's all they use to sell, is like the views, right? We get
Yeah.
this many views, so It just seemed really tough, and trying to pay people. Like you said, there's no money in BMX. The money that they had was from like big brands. It seemed like the fuck with the hot dog, the hot dog company that had Mike Spinner on the team, Ballpark Franks. Like I'm pretty sure Ballpark had some money like in that, right? Like they're not paying the same. I guess what I'm trying to say is they're not paying the same as Kink or Animal or something like that, right? They're paying as much as he can get out of them, and I would not say that he's using it to line his pockets. That's like what I wanted to finish, right? I don't think he moved to rap, so it was like, oh, I can get rich, but it's like the bigger the market is, the bigger you can do what you're loving to do.
Yeah, right? I definitely don't mean that he, went and switched completely just for the money. It's obviously not that. Like, he's been true to rap music and everything,
it's
right?
It's the path of least resistance for sure.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
That looks easier. If I'm doing it for these guys in BMX, and I also love rap music the same way, and it's so much bigger, it's like, let's try that too.
Absolutely, right? And while we're on the Mike Spinner Ballpark Franks thing, I actually had Mike on the show quite a while ago, but we talked numbers about the Ballpark Franks deal. And with him, it was a big thing that Mike has always been looked at as like a sellout, because he was able to market himself with so many different things, right? Like the guy was on fucking Jimmy Fallon. Like that is wild, right? Like that is business right there. But when you think about like, what it allowed Mike to do, he had an insane ramp set up in his backyard where he was able to progress BMX and move things forward. He was able to go to these contests and inspire kids to ride. And that was a thing where, like, when I first started, Mike Spinner was my favorite pro because, like, everything that he was doing, crazy, dude, right? And that's the thing
legit,
where I'm like, everything, everything kind of comes full circle there. But with Mike, like, it was just one of those things that it helped him, become who he was. And they gave him fucking, I might be getting the numbers wrong, but I think for a 2-year deal, he got close to $500K just to wear Ballpark Frank shirts. That's all he had to do was a T-shirt deal. Just wear their shirts. You don't have to eat their food. You don't got to do any of that. Just wear their shirts, say you like their food, and you're good.
Yeah, man. And I think BMX does an injustice to itself almost by hating on people like that. And I've been guilty of it too. I should say shout out to Mike Spinner because he was at a Toronto Metro Jam. I don't think it was an actual Metro Jam. I think it was like the first Notro. Oh, I don't know. Those were always blurry weekends. But so Mike Spinner was at one of these contests, and man, like I asked him just some dorky ass question, like, "Hey man, can you teach me how to like 720?" It was just something like that. Like I was just trying to make fun of him. It was some about 720s was like the meme at the time.
Yeah.
And he was just so nice. Like he was like, "Are you serious?" Like he first asked me, and I was like, "Well, yeah." Like yeah, because I wanted to keep and he just told me, "Well, can you 540?" Yeah, okay. Like he just straight told me how to do it. He was so nice, and I was just like, I kind of just played it off like, cool, thanks, man. I guess my fucking joke is over, right? Like,
yeah.
And looking back, I was just like, man, what a nice guy. I've just been like, suck it, buddy. Like, go ask somebody else. Like, or I would have told him I can't. Like, sorry, bud, I can only do 9s or something like that, right? But yeah, he was so cool. So shout out to Mike Spinner because, like, yeah, it's another example of, you know what? Someone Catfish back in the day was. I remember him saying like, Edwin De La Rosa saw BMX on the fucking X Games, and that's how he got into BMX. So, like, people like Mike Spinner bring people into BMX who, like, wouldn't be there otherwise, and some of them end up being, some of the most influential riders of all time.
Yeah, that was exactly what him and I were talking about when we were, going on about his bikes being sold at Walmart for like $100, right? Was like that was a big thing where everybody in BMX was so against that, where they're so like, whack. Dude, that's the thing.
But it's like I think, like I said, it does a disservice to BMX because fucking Tony Hawk had those bikes too, and no one cares. It's like because he uses it for the Tony Hawk Skate Park Foundation. Or whatever it is, like the money's not in BMX because we made it lame to take it.
Yeah, it is one of those things where like we should stop gatekeeping BMX so much and allow people to have different sponsors that are coming from outside, right? That are willing to put their money into it, because at the end of the day, that just means that that rider is going to have a better paycheck, right? Like when you look at some of the top 1%ers in the world for BMX right now, who are those dudes getting paid by? Every single one of them is sponsored by some sort of like energy drink company. And
Huge
fucking
company,
dude,
yeah.
those companies are massive. They do not care. They will give you tons of money to do whatever you fucking want. Like, you
Dude, the
know?
thing is, like, I don't think, man, snowboarders make a lot of money. Like, I'm pretty sure a snowboarder wouldn't take a sponsor for less than $3,000 a month. And so it's like, that's this crazy thing in BMX is that just the fact that that they take these low ass numbers is, yeah. And so it does look corny because now all of a sudden they're making like real athlete money, which is what they are. No shred of a doubt there, right? And so, yeah, it's like, how is that corny at all? Like Garrett Reynolds should be making just as much as say like Shaun White or like any real, he's an action sports athlete who's doing really well. But like I'm talking anybody, right? Like any athlete, like I don't know, not Serena Williams or something. I'm just trying to think. I don't know any. I don't know any, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But like just like big. She's a crazy athlete. That's all I know about her is that she's won more tennis than fucking anybody, it sounds.
Yeah.
Like. So, which is kind of like, right? Kind of like Garrett Reynolds. He's won like all the X Games and like, when he didn't win it, it was just kind of like, okay, because we're going to give this other guy like a chance to have, like, it's been 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
it's been 10 years, Garrett. Can we give you silver?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, and they should have just stopped inviting him. They're just in this position where they can't not invite him, and
yeah,
he's just gonna win. So fuck, right? Same with the vert dudes. Who's the big vert guy who keeps winning?
Jamie Bestwick, probably.
Jamie Bestwick. Like,
yeah,
man, how do you like? What do you? Yeah, you can't stop. So I think they should be making those big checks. I don't think it's corny at all, but I probably would. Yeah, I probably did before, and I've definitely know people who. Man, I know people. Think about Drew Bezanson. He's probably our Canadian golden boy for BMX to non-BMX crowds. And
yeah,
stuff like
absolutely, yeah.
Non-BMX sponsors and stuff, and yeah, I met a pro in England who told me a story about him, saying that like, asked him about this like his bracelet. He had like one of those I don't know, those energy bracelets.
Yeah,
I think they're not real. So
yeah,
but Drew knows this, and he said to the guy, he's like, yeah. So Drew said to me, yeah, but they pay me X amount a month, so whatever. And he told this story to me as if that was like the lamest fucking thing ever.
Right.
And I'm just like, dude, like that kid's wearing a I shouldn't call him. I think he's my age, but that guy's like wearing a bracelet, and that's why he's able to fucking beat. I'm pretty sure that they were in Austin. I don't want to air this this English dude out in case he watches the show, but I'm pretty sure that they were on American soil type of thing. Like they weren't visiting each other's homes. They were both somewhere else.
Right.
How the fuck do you think that either of you are even here? It's from taking this, except he's just saying yes more. And like, you don't know what you would say if you were in that position. Like, wait, so I could wear it and it's fine if I'm wearing a hoodie? I just have to be wearing it.
Yeah.
Like, sure. Like, if you really don't like it, then wear a hoodie. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I think like a good point there too is the fact that like, like you said, it's weird that somebody like Shaun White can make all of this fucking money, and then when it comes to BMX, it's like, Garrett, the best rider in the world, like, or Dennis Anderson, these guys. It's weird when they take like sponsors like that, right? And I guess a good example is like, look at Drew. Like you said, the guy is sponsored by Toyota. He gets a fucking free truck. Like he gets all this stuff. He's got a car sponsorship, and that's the thing.
You're
where
gonna make
like
fun of Jay Miron, like
yeah,
that's like Miron status shit, and that's what I was gonna like. So it goes back into rider-owned companies. Like a lot of those guys you mentioned, all end up having. Garrett Reynolds has Fiend now. He doesn't have a frame sponsor because he rides for Fiend, and like I just think that's kind of that's why it's so good, because it lets skateboarders take that control. Since skaters are in control a lot of their industry, I think that it helps them pay homage to their veterans a lot better.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, and that kind of helps progress things too. Like, I would love to see more of that in BMX. Just, we have a bit of it, right? I love seeing Chris Doyle announce the X Games.
Yeah.
Like, that's so good. It's just so perfect, right? So stuff like that, I think, is really good.
Yeah, it's definitely it is one of those things where it's like, who else are you going to get to do the job, right? Like, are you just going to have some rando do it that doesn't know
Well,
much
man, that's
about
who
it?
it was, right? Like, I saw a big catfish thing. I remember him freaking out on Twitter about what was the guy's name? The Sal McCalla or something like that. I'm butchering this dude's name.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm gonna Google it here. Whoa, okay, I didn't butcher it because it's like a hard name.
Yeah.
It's Sal Masakela, Masekela. Sal.
Jesus. Yeah.
Salama Mabina Masakala, American television host, sports commentator, actor, and singer. So, like, yeah, I remember. I don't know. Catfish used the word nepotism, so he maybe has some family or something in the X Games, like in the TV industry, and that's how he got it. Because why do me and you know that guy?
That's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't ride. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He doesn't contribute to BMX at all, right? And it's
literally,
like,
I'm not getting. I'm gonna close this after, but it literally. So his bio here, the sentence says, Masakela's upbringing brought him to Southern California, where he was first exposed to surfing, snowboarding, and skateboarding. Doesn't even mention BMX riding there. Not that that's.
yeah.
It does mention skateboarding, but it doesn't, like. I don't know. Did the guy skate? My measure now is like, did you have a video part back in the day?
Yeah, and
A little video part. Then that's a sign that you had like that you were a. Do you think Sal Mascala ever had like any clips on anything? I don't think so. So what's he doing?
yeah, that's a really good point. And Mike Escamilla made the same point when we had him on about like judging, and he was saying that a lot of the times it's just these people that don't really understand it, and that it should be somebody that can ride that course. You want somebody that knows how big that gap is. You want people that are going to flow around for a day, figure out how big the transitions are, how hard it is to ride. And it is like, not every quarter pipe is the same. We've all rode a quarter pipe that is super fucking steep. We all know how hard it is to have small transition like that. But the thing is that normal people that don't ride don't understand that, right? They don't understand the way that the transitions affect it, or the way, like, how big of a gap this is. People don't get that unless they actually ride. And I think that's why it's important.
It's so hard. I would love, if anyone's watching this and you need a judge for any contest anywhere, I will. Right? I'll do it for free, like for the flight and the board. That's it. I'll do it because I know how hard it is, and yeah, I have a respect for it. Like it's. I think you bring up a good point. Riding the course, I never thought of it that way. I don't know if it's like feasible, really.
Yeah.
Because like, how are you going to get judges that are impartial? Who are you going to find who can ride the course with rooftop and not be impartial to like him or whatever, right?
Right.
But maybe I don't. So I judged one contest. I've judged lots of contests, but just one pro contest. It was Kingston Metro. So that was I think 2009 or something like that.
Right.
Jay Miron took this big. I think Kingston had a big budget to bring an event there, and so Miron brought the Metro Jam there. And yeah, shout out to Jay, who gave me so many opportunities in BMX when I was sponsored and riding for like other companies and shit. So Jay flew me out there and paid like a per diem to judge pro, and I rode like, I think that it was a qualifier. They're amateur qualifiers. Do you remember this? It was all around the country.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely I get where you're coming from.
So Kingston Metro had an amateur portion, which I think was all Metro Jam always had amateur, but there was something about Kingston. It was kind of far, and I think that they didn't have like as much space, like time to do like a full amateur day. I think it was it was one less day or something. And so it was qualifiers, and I rode in there was one in Iceland skate park in Mississauga. I rode that one. I didn't qualify there, and I rode the Winnipeg one as well because I was on trips. And yeah, I rode the one in Winnipeg, and I qualified there. And I remember I think that I just wasn't gonna make it. I think I just was not trying to go, you know. And he just kind of like, what if I got you a flight and like paid you to do something there, like judge the pro? So that was awesome. That's why I was there, was to do that. And it was like, it's so much harder than you think, because something that you need to factor in is who's giving her and who's not. So you also need to know, like, if two people are jumping that hip and both of them do the same trick over it or the same caliber of trick over it, whose do you score higher? Because one of them is a higher score, and it's not about the trick. It's about like how much they're above their level of comfort as well, is kind of a factor of like what makes something crazy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a really good point. I think that's like really important, is to think about at what caliber of level are these people riding, right? And what is uncomfortable for them in that situation. So again, brings up a really good point on why it's important to have people that are big within BMX doing judging, right? You don't want just some random dude. Like, you want somebody that pays attention. And like, you know, somebody like yourself or even myself, I feel like I would, I would definitely be okay with judging, because I know a lot about, different riders and whatnot.
You have to make some hard decisions too.
Absolutely.
Like, you have all your scores and they come together, and then at the end, like, you all have to agree with that order, because you obviously set your own score, but now you have to agree with all the other scores as well, and kind of like put that together and shift it around. At that contest, Gary Young won it, and Gary Young was probably like the biggest McNeil rider at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that people thought it was just like that maybe had something to do with it. It'd be easy to look at it that way and see, but man, Gary Young killed that contest. Like, there was a hip that he was doing tricks over that I didn't really consider it as like a gap or something. You know what I mean? Like, when someone drops in and starts sessioning a gap that is like not some it's just like so big you didn't even think of it. It's like I would do tricks in between it. It's like an area that would be a line for me, and he's like just like jumping over it and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a super fun time. I met lots of rad pros on that trip, and it was, yeah. I had no bike lock. I stashed my bike in a dumpster so we could go to this bar. Like, just, it was a gnarly trip.
Yeah. So I've got a couple stories just about like contests and judging and stuff like that, right? But one of them is 2017 Metro Jam in Toronto, or I guess it would be technically called X Jam at this point. And
Notro.
Yeah. Do you know who Jay Dalton is?
Jay Dalton. It sounds super familiar. But
he's one of those YouTube vlog guys, but he is unreal. He's a counselor at Woodward, and he has some of the cleanest riding ever. If you've got your phone with you, just go on Instagram and just look up Jay Dalton and see some of the stuff that he's doing. Yeah, he is unreal. So unbelievably smooth, and all this stuff that he does is like pretty cool, but he does do the vlog stuff and whatnot. Anyways, at X Jam, he showed up for that, and he flipped this gap, and it was just after the buzzer had went. So like the buzzer went, and everybody was kind of like getting ready to move on to the next round, and he drops in and hits this gap. It's a step down from a step up over, like a big transfer into the box jump landing. So think about, a landing ramp going off of that. He flips off the landing ramp with a step up, this huge gap into a fucking quarter pipe, takeoff. Yeah. And like just one of those things where nobody was even really paying attention, and I felt like I was the only one that saw that shit because I was going nuts. Yeah. And people were like, what is this dude doing? I'm like, did you not just fucking see that? Like, do you know how deadly that is to fucking flip that? Like, that should not have been flipped at all,
Yeah, dude. Shout out to everyone who made those jams happen, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Are they still doing them? Like, what was Bike Show in March? What happened to Bike Show this year?
Okay, so here's the thing about Bike Show this year. So for anybody that has been to previous X Jams, or you know a little bit about it, every year in Toronto in March, I think it's the first or second weekend of March, they always do the International Bike Show, and people fly in from fucking everywhere, man. There was a dude, I think his
Pretty
name's
big, yeah.
Toshi. He comes in every year for the event, and he goes and rides the contest. And that's like, he's from Japan. Like, that dude comes in for
Flatland
it.
rider?
No, he's a park rider.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, he's a... And I remember the first time I met him because he was doing like front flares, and that was the first time I had ever seen that trick, and I was blown away. But anyways, what happened was that the International Bike Show, the people that were at the top this year decided that they didn't want to do a BMX event, and I bet it's mainly just numbers, right? Like, think about how many people buy
it
tickets.
was a mess anyway. Like,
yeah.
That shit's generational. I've always thought the contests were generational, and that they need those kind of gaps between them and stuff like that. Like, shout out to everybody who kept it going. But I don't know if it's going now. I just felt like it's kind of...
Yeah, so...
It's something I would fly to. If it was the same as it was before, man, I wouldn't miss it. I met so many people that I'm friends with still in BMX, I met at those jams. Like, I'm thinking of Matt Desson right now. Like, shout out to Desson from the West Coast, who, like, just bike guide people, right? Like, just meeting these people in person was cool. I remember meeting Destin for the first time and just him, like, impressing me with just being loud and wild at the time. Right? Yeah.
So with X Jam, unfortunately, they stopped doing it this year, and instead, the skate park that I used to work at, called All In, they decided to do it there. And there was a lot of stuff going on there, right, where they had some people come in that were, like, pretty big-name riders, right, like Daniel Sandoval and some of these other guys. But the problem is that when you host it at a skate park that's for everybody, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? When you think about X Jam, what made X Jam so great was the fact that, like, people couldn't go to it 6 weeks before and plan out their line. They had to fucking go with the same amount of time as everybody else. And this was the only problem that I had with it, was that, like, all the local dudes have been riding there for years. They know all the lines. They know all this stuff, right? They've got all their tricks dialed in. And that is, like, why I truly believe those dudes could have placed so much higher, right? When it's not fair. Like, X Jam, the course changed every year. People didn't get a preview of the course most of the time. Or if you did, it was really hard to translate what it was. And you just had to go and figure it out. You got 3 days, you know? Figure it out, get your lines, do what you need to do, and then the course is gone forever. And I thought that was, like, that's what made X Jam so cool in my mind, was the fact that, like, any BMX rider that went to that wanted to ride the course, but only certain people got to, you know? Like, if you...
So did you ever go to a Metro Jam, like the McNeil Run Metro Jam?
I never got to, because I was never... I really only went to my first, like, X Jam or Toronto Jam back in 2014, I think. And that was like, you know, I've only been riding for about 10 years. So it's one of those things where I'm like, motherfucker, dude, I wish I was 10 years older so that I could have experienced 10 more years of BMX, right?
I only got, I think, the tail end of it. Like, I went, I think 2 years. Because remember, there was a whole era before. It used to be called La Rev, yeah. So it used to be called La Rev, and I didn't experience any of that. So, but I remember, like, the course was a big deal. Something I wanted to mention is, the notch. Something that I think held Notro back, or X Jam back, was that, like you said, the course, it was awesome that it was different every time, but the plans came out really late, and they were hard to figure out what it was, and then they built it, and it was different. Where the McNeil Jams, I think that because they were, like, custom-made ramps that then they put into these containers and shipped over here. So they had all that shit, like, 3D catted out. And I remember the course, I don't know, maybe they posted it in magazines or something, but, man, like, I'll tell you, so I remember going to them, and I remember seeing a girl and thinking, like, crazy, like, there's a girl that looks like a girl BMX rider, turn around, and it was this, like, kid in glasses, like a BMX guy. And I only learned, like, 6 months later, after seeing a picture of Charlie Crumlish, that, oh my God, that was Charlie, the guy who I thought was a girl at Metro Jam. And I bought you like that one? I bought a Shitluck shirt from, who's, like, the Shitluck dude? He was in a chicken suit. And I bought a Shitluck shirt. It just said, shit luck on it. Basically, I was
Yeah.
like a kid, bought that shirt, gave him $5 for some extra stickers, and like it was just like my mom brought me the first one. She saw it in the newspaper, and then the next year I went with my like BMX friends from Orangeville, Billy and Zach, and yeah, shout out to those guys. So yeah, man, like I remember getting like Edwin was there on the list, but he didn't actually ride, and I remember just getting autographs from all these pros, man, like crazy amounts of pros. Like I must have somewhere a signed like Edwin grip package.
Yeah.
From back in the day, right? Like when they first came out.
Damn, that's
so
wild.
It was cool, like, and seeing there's so many pros. I was living in Ontario. Remember, I had just moved from Winnipeg. I said when I started riding.
Yep.
So I remember yelling like, "Osato is the king!" Like I just remember being so stoked.
Wow.
To see Dave Osato there, because you know when I was a kid in Winnipeg, I only saw him on TV at the X Games and shit like that. And so, and it's funny, yeah. If Dave ever watches this, whatever, like I filmed a clip with him. Like I don't know, he's just a regular ass guy, right? But it's crazy to think that when I was like 15 and he was 25 or whatever, it's like that was impressive to me. Like that was my hero growing up. You know, who do you look up to? It's like, ooh, Dave Osato, he's on TV riding BMX. Like that was the coolest shit. So Nitro, like it was good, but without those pros there, I think that's what killed it. And without having the ramps to attract them, it makes a bit of a difference, right? Why do people go to Estonia every year? Because there's enough money and the ramps look amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
People
We did
want to go, right?
Yeah, I did an article on my site with a dude. I cannot believe Kristen Potter. That's his name. He's actually a local to Estonia, and he lives in the city that they hold it. And this dude is unreal on a fucking bike, and he rides there every year. So I had him go around and like walk us through what the weekend is like. And yeah, dude, just hearing like, you know, Simple Session is one of those things that every year I look forward to it. And I know there's like a weird thing with it because Catfish actually came out and said a bunch of shit about Simple Session and how apparently they don't pay their riders very well. They invest a lot of money in other things, and like I don't know, it's one of those things where like they're still doing it, man. They're still doing contests, they're getting kids into it, and like I don't know, man, how many high paying events are there, right? Like this year we saw a really big one with Brandon Lupos taking home $90,000 US. And like that is a crazy first prize.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, money. Like that is
big sponsors match that stuff too. That's how those guys are making their money. Like if Drew Bezanson won that, I bet you Toyota match that shit and whatnot, right?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, it's fucking wild. Anyways, yeah, we have been doing this for, let's see, just about 2 hours and 15 minutes. This is awesome so far, and if you're down, I want to continue because we have barely scratched the surface here.
I got all the questions for you, and if you want, I got like I should say I set aside this box of I brought out my box of like old BMX crap here.
Dude, please show us.
I should have been looking through it a little bit while we were talking, so I could, because there's probably stuff that we've already talked about in here before or whatever, right?
Yeah, dude, I definitely want to see this stuff. This is going to be really interesting. This is why it's so awesome that I finally have video on both ends. I'm like, this is so great.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you some stuff. Maybe we'll do it at that, like a shout out thing. If I want to shout some people out,
Please is probably do. Yeah,
this is who I'd shout out. Right, is like everyone who's sent shit in here. Like I just want to find something old first to whip out, like OG Fu Man, and I just got old McNeil stickers, and I guess nothing really too crazy, but let me see. Yeah, just like, I don't know, why do I even have this? I have an old, like, Hevel sticker.
Oh, that is sick, though.
From Vancouver, and yeah, just, like, old stuff, like, there's gotta be some gems in here somewhere, right? But yeah, we'll go through that a little later if you want. But yeah, I'm down, man. Like I said, whatever you want to do, I'm down to talk. What is in here? I should have went through this a little better before, right? But yeah, so
that's
what
all
else
good.
You got? Do you have any
Yeah, I got lots, man. So let's jump back into some Repset stuff here. So we barely scratched the surface on this. I really wanted to talk about why you felt it was so important to, you know, really write down the history of BMX, right, and document it within Canada. Because when you think about it, there really hasn't been too many sites that have done that. Like, at least for strictly Canadian BMX.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to mention um, that there wasn't really another option, right? Like when I talk about like about there not being a place to post photos and stuff, like I didn't really recognize, I didn't think that I was putting anybody on or documenting it for the future. I didn't really think about that when we were doing it. It was kind of just like we BMX is something that I think is best shared. It's something that like man, that Montreal story, right? Like going to Montreal for that first time is something that it really stood out to me because these guys were so eager to share it with me. And so like again, we were just kids, right? So I was like a 15-year-old kid and Mike Fizz, I don't know, I should ask, but they were grown men. Like they had like they lived on their own and had normal ass jobs and stuff. So that blew my mind to just get that time from BMX riders. And so I always just had an interest in that. I never thought that it was something that needed to be done or whatever. Like if anything, I was almost like sometimes even self-conscious about it, that all we're doing is just posting stuff, and we're not really like making anything. It's just like gathering this content, and the same criticism that I guess the Come Up would have, right? It's just, what are you guys doing except having the attention, right? You're just posting it because you have the attention, right? That's all you're contributing, is just taking it, right? So it was like, I never thought it was just like something that needed to be done or whatever. It's just kind of like it helped me be in BMX the way I want it to be in it, which is not behind the scenes, but at a deeper level than as a rider. Because I always knew that I wasn't like trying to be on TV or that I wasn't going to win the X Games and shit like that. Like even, Metro Jam, for example, it's like that stuff was like ending as I like grew, as I excelled through BMX or whatever, like went through my BMX shit. So
yeah,
kind of like I never had a DVD part, like a full DVD part. My first video part was like a web video when web videos were just starting and DVDs were just ending and stuff. So I don't know, I never really thought it was just something we were doing, right?
yeah, fair enough. And then what was the world of BMX online like then? When you think back, like, I don't know, nowadays it's like there's endless BMX at the touch of a button, right? You go on Instagram
Crazy,
and you can
right?
just scroll forever, dude, like, and just watch BMX shit. Whereas like beforehand online was, when you started Repset back in 2005, like who was, doing online BMX back then? Not very many.
Really like it wasn't really anywhere. All we had was like, when I think back, where did I see BMX besides, so you saw it at that time I was still seeing it in magazines, like still buying magazines off the shelf, right? And waiting for videos to come out, because DVDs would come out and you'd buy them for cheap at Metro Jam because all the shops would have booths there and stuff, right? Little deals. Man, Metro Jam is where I bought ICC Lock and Load, like the original ICC video from Leland, like at the Hogtown booth. Rest in peace to that shop as well, right? Like that's where we saw BMX. It's like you get those videos, rinse the fuck out of them, and that was it. So the only place I saw BMX that wasn't pros, that wasn't companies, and wasn't like Metro Jam was the forums, like Bike Guide. And I never had a BMX board account, but that's where stuff gets posted, right? And that's where people talk about everything, really. So that's like, there was nothing online. All you had online was like the products and stuff like that. Like I remember going to high school and printing out like the rider distribution catalog of all the BMX parts, and printing out like the Dance Comp catalog of all the BMX parts. But that was it, man. It was like magazines and stuff, and people had blogs that kind of became a thing, like little sites. People would have sites. Every big crew now probably started really similar ways, like with a little site that they were posting stuff on. When I think of like, I don't know, like Act Like You Know crew.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, I'm just blanking. That's like the first one I think of. But yeah, just crew-based videos. I feel like it's just they want somewhere to post it and to be in control of it themselves, right? And so I was into video editing and filming and stuff like that, and the writing, like I said. So just wanted to have a spot where I could do it myself, like be in control of that.
Hell yeah. I think that's a really good point, man, because it really like shows why I kind of got into what I'm doing now too, right? Like when I first started filming and stuff, like I had a really good amount of support from Ride UK and like their Facebook page and their online stuff, which is awesome, right? But like the end of the day, it was so hard to distribute stuff because, you know, sites like the Come Up won't take certain things, which is fair. Like when you think about it, how many things are being sent to these companies every day?
So much, man. It like burned me out.
So much,
like,
yeah.
And
It's
watch everything.
that's the thing where it's like, you know, you got to look for the gold. Unfortunately, you get a lot of stuff that isn't great. Like, you know, I actually was running a little Instagram page for about a month, and then I just stopped doing it because I realized it was too much, and it was just reposting people's clips, and it was like people would send stuff in, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to be a dick, man, but like look at the stuff we're posting and look at what, you know, you're capable of doing. Like keep riding and keep progressing, but like, you know, send stuff in at a later date for sure. And I don't know, it was one of those things where like I would post my video stuff and it would never get like a lot of views. It'd be hard to get it out there. So I was just kind of like, fuck it, I'm going to start my own thing. That's kind of where it's went, you know? And then when I got into the podcasting, it was a lot of me just wanting to learn more about BMX. And instead of just like looking it up, I wanted to listen to people and talk with people and have conversations.
That's something valuable you can add, right? It's like your interest pulls it out from people, right? Where like just post, like sharing it is definitely a service that needed to happen, right? Think of what magazines are and what Props Video magazine was and what the Come Up is. It's really just like kind of aggregating this stuff so that you can see it, because at the time there wasn't, think about like if magazines, right? Like that was how you delivered pictures. You couldn't look at pictures on computers and there wasn't a TV channel to look at them. You deliver them by paper, right? So it's kind of, BMX doesn't need that now. We don't need that aggregator. Like you could type in hashtag BMX on Instagram and it will aggregate that for you. Even the best feed is like the naturally aggregated kind of, or the like algorithmically like arranged stuff. Like what is getting the most views that people are watching, commenting on? Because like when you go on the Come Up back in the day, people would look at it that way too. I remember someone say like, well, you've got a good video on there. I saw it's got like 300 Facebook number beside it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people use to gauge how much, whether to watch something, comment count and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So now we don't really need that much, that I don't think. And I've said to people, even, you know, Jeremy Demi at the embassy, which I helped kind of get them going. The embassy's down right now. I need to work on that. It's something I need to fix ASAP. But it's something I talked about with Demi, which is that like we don't need someone, I don't think, to aggregate that as much anymore. And even into a video part, you don't need to aggregate. This is not something I talk about with Jeremy, but little tangents. I don't think you need to even aggregate into a video part anymore. I think people just want to see it on your feed. If you want to see my riding with B-roll, you could literally scroll down my feed and it's pictures of like, it's riding clips and like pictures of me with my kid, which is like what my B-roll would probably be if you think about so that's I'm just like switching it up. Like the landscape was different, but I think that it's because it had to be. We didn't have the technology we have now to be able to see a couple clips at a time.
Yeah, I think what's important to point out too is like all of the companies that used to be magazines and they've now transitioned into digital media. A lot of them are doing original like articles, or they're doing original like videos with people now, right? Like it's all transitioned really well, but that's the thing where it's like you can't just repost stuff. Like if you're one of those
Work,
sites,
yeah.
like you need to be doing, you need to be putting in the work and doing all that.
I've got this. Did you pick up this Dig magazine? Print is dead.
I did not. I should grab that though.
Pretty good. It's issue. It says 99.5. I don't really know the deal with it, but what I want to point out here. Oh, sick. there's two prints in here. I'll show this one here.
Oh yeah, Dig is still doing stuff, right?
a
Oh
photo
yeah.
It's a photo by Scott Barker.
That is
in
wild.
Barcelona, right? Classic
Yeah.
spot. I don't know what I got going on, but anyway. So what I wanted to point out is that when I started reading them, they weren't really like this, where, like, there's no news in here.
Yeah.
This is all like timeless content.
Wow.
And so magazines, when we started, they were like aggregate kind of, like Ride BMX can't really tell us about Interbike anymore because all the brands are telling us about Interbike. They can do that themselves. They couldn't really do that before, right? So it's kind of changed, and I don't think it was like a conscious decision to feel the need for it, but just what we needed is the only way to get your stuff out, really.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, man.
Get it on those aggregate sites.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like pretty crazy to think, right? Like I definitely owe a lot to Neil at Ride UK because he posted my stuff quite a bit, and it actually ever since he posted that stuff, there's a dude in Scotland named Kieran who I've had on the show. Really unbelievable rider. That dude has supported everything I do, and he buys stuff constantly. Anytime I put something out, he buys something. And it's like just some random dude from Scotland I've never met. We've talked on the show, we've done stuff like that, but yeah.
Yeah, the BMX community, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's how I got into it, just like oddball kids like in my neighborhood. And like, yeah, it's crazy to think back that BMX isn't really special in any way. It just like hit me hard at the right time, and that's why I'm not into like skateboarding or scootering or whatever it would be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Let's see here. So, are your dream sponsors still Lucky Logger and Subway?
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's from like a BMX, yeah. So Lucky Lager, man, that's a good beer. I don't know where this came from, but it's like a Vancouver Island beer, I think, or like a BC, it's BC Island beer. And my buddy Dave McNabb, who was one of the OGs here in Winnipeg, who like got me to move here, helped me move here back in the day and all that stuff. So Dave was from Vancouver, or not from Vancouver. He's a Winnipeg boy through and through, but he was living out west and had a good time out there with all those guys. And I don't know. I think that's the beer he drank, and it was a cheap bit. I don't know. That's all it was. So yeah, I would say that Lucky Lager would be a good dream beer sponsor, just because it's I still get it sometimes, because at the time in Winnipeg it was the cheapest canned beer that you could get.
Yeah.
You didn't have like PBR here or anything. It was like you can get the 5% Lucky Lager, and for the same price they also had the Black Label 6% can. So you could get that if you wanted to like turn up for the night. You got a 6-pack of the Black Label Lucky Black, which tasted like even worse. But yeah, but the Subway, man, I don't know. I've been off it. I used to go way too often, and now I'm like
not about it, eh?
Well, I go just to remind myself that it's like not something you should have every day. It's like
yeah, fair enough, eh?
It's like too easy. I just remind myself to go and be like, yeah, see, you can have this. It's like, it's pretty good, but it's not like this amazing thing that you're like, oh, I should go here every fucking day like you used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been avoiding.
Dude, fair enough. Let's see here. Are you still a big believer that Winnipeg is one of the most underrated cities within BMX?
Yeah. Like, we had a really good run of, like, there's spots here still that are really unique, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that it's been shown. I feel like Winnipeg now has been shown, at least the the skate parks, the street, like what is here? You know what I mean? Because for a long time, no one knew that we had like just this amazing downtown street riding experience, right? And we've had some pros come here, like the Kink team came here one time, Chris Doyle and like Kyle Sexton and shit like that, and they destroyed our whole landscape of street downtown. But yeah, so videos like that, yeah, I think that yeah, it's just it's somewhere, I would say somewhere it's good to visit. I don't like, it's hard to say now. Like I don't know what you would do now. Like I don't know where you'd stay now. Like I don't know, where's the BMX house here now? And I think a lot of cities have that problem. Like there was a time where if you're going to Edmonton, you'd stay at the Gleeman House, and that was for like years, the years and years and years, like almost a decade probably, where if you went to Edmonton, there was a place to stay 100%. That was BMX riders, all BMX riders living there.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that exists. Like, do you have one? Like, do you even know of one?
No, not around here.
Right.
You know, like if anything, I just had Daryl Taco on the show last week, and he was saying that they might make a trip to Canada, and I had told him, if you guys are planning on doing that, you guys are more than welcome to come here, and we don't have much space, but we'll make it work. Like I would do whatever you need,
Yeah, and like I've stayed at tons of situations like that, right? But something about like if there's a BMX house already there, it like attracts people almost, right?
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
It's easier to plan a trip because like here's the thing with the BMX house. Like if you would tell me right now, like, yeah, dude, you can come stay anytime. And then if I started planning a trip, like a trip can go from 3 people to 6 people really fast. And that like never fucking matters at a BMX house. Like we had blatantly irresponsible amounts of people staying at the house sometimes.
Yeah.
And like it was sick. So that I think is what holds. Yeah. But to answer, it's like I think that everyone should visit all these cities. Winnipeg was not easy to visit for a long time. And then we had this kind of Dave McNabb's made it easy to visit for that whole kind of decade that I was involved and I was here filming and stuff. Like he really helped put it on by making it easy for people to come here and stay. Me included, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I definitely think that's something that, really needs to be revived, really, when you think about it. Like
Andrew White just told me that he's living in a BMX house now. I don't know. I didn't ask who with. I didn't get a chance to ask who with. But you don't say BMX house if you're like living with, I don't know, not a BMX rider.
Yeah, fair enough, right?
Or not majority BMX riders or whatever, right? So.
Yeah, I definitely, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to live with other riders, but at the same time, I'm like, this is too good right now. I'm like,
not
I'm
for
living
everyone,
with,
bro. And if you have your lady with you, like, you don't need to bring her into that mess. Like, that's
dude,
a bad idea.
Fuck that.
You have a good setup. Like, you can split rent with someone who is not a wild person. Like a BMX riders are nuts, right? Like,
yeah.
All of my roommates have been awesome. Like, I've always had awesome roommate scenarios. But yeah, it's a crazy thing because you're gonna have like 10 people stay there sometime. Like. It's gonna, there's gonna be weeks where it's nuts in there. I would take the time off work and shit when people are in town, and we'd just like thrash the city.
Dude, yeah, exactly. And then you got dudes doing X Factor keg stands, like just so wild.
That's so funny. Actually, you mentioned that. That's Gleeman House. That's Big Daddy, right?
That was the Big Daddy call out. I'm gonna find that on here and play it for everybody. That was like the funniest shit ever.
You gotta ask Luke Santucci about that. He'd be someone good to have on the show or whatever. Just
absolutely.
Talking about, Edmonton, I think, was a really interesting scene around that time where he got on Fit and where they were doing street justice and all that stuff. That's like, dude, my first trip to Winnipeg, I came for 2 weeks. And Dave McNabb took me to street justice, like a trip within a trip. And yeah, Edmonton is a crazy, crazy place. Like awesome riding scene.
Yeah. Dude, Edmonton definitely seems like that's where it's at, Like it just looks awesome. You guys are constantly doing cool shit too, you know? Like a lot of the riding that I've seen on your videos has been great. I'm just playing this X Factor keg stand right now. So if you guys are on the YouTube, you'll see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget what the deal. I don't think I was in like Edmonton when they filmed that. Like I was probably in Winnipeg chilling when they did that, but
Yeah.
I like I had to post it probably to. Yeah, I wonder like you gotta ask. You should ask Luke if he ever got hit up about that or whatever. Like we were really hoping for a Big Daddy response video or something, and I don't think that ever.
Yeah, I was
don't
going to
think
ask you if you had known what happened there, but I'll try and get a hold of him and see what he says, because that would be so cool to hear
If
about.
you get a hold of Luke, he probably have a better story than because Big Daddy doesn't go by Big Daddy anymore, does he?
No, he goes by Patrick, I think. That's his
I don't
normal
know
name, but
his real name, yeah, Pat
Yeah.
Mc something or something. But yeah, so I think that the Big Daddy persona, I think it died around that same time, and maybe we didn't hear back too much. But
yeah,
dude, that guy was a shredder.
dude,
like,
still is.
Still is, yeah, still is, I should say. But I mean, Big Daddy, if we separate those two people, right?
Yeah.
So Big Daddy was like that was a really good. I loved everything about that. That was
Dude, it was the perfect like jock BMX persona, you know?
Yeah.
Because like realistically, I always feel that like when you go into BMX, it's more like it sounds so stupid, but when you look at like personas in like, you know, high school and shit, you have the stoner kids, you have nerdy kids, you've got all these people, and then you've got all these jock dudes. I have always felt that skaters are more like jock type dudes, just with the way that they gatekeep like all of that shit. Whereas
Yeah.
BMXers have always just seemed like chill stoner dudes or fucking, you know, like me, super nerdy when it comes to that stuff. Like,
such a wide variety of people. That's the thing that I've like it attracts. We all have like a lot in common, right?
yeah.
There's something that attracted us, but man, the variety of people that I've met through BMX has just been like, it's just been outstanding. From like visiting England and like did a little bit of that, and from but mostly Canada, coast to coast. Like there's OGs in every scene, and I shouldn't. Yeah, even in England, getting them to introduce me to like their English OGs and stuff is like, yeah, it's crazy just seeing that BMX is kind of the same everywhere. That we all have this this respect for what like got us into it, and that kind of genuine urge to share. Like I said, BMX should be shared with people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I completely agree with you. So just a heads up, we are at 2.5 hours now. So this has been incredible so far. We're going to jump into the fan questions, and then I'll end it off with one more after that. But right off the bat, you are 100% invited back on the show. Like, we have to do
awesome.
this. This has been incredible. Dude, you know so much, which is awesome. I love that, you know? I always feel like with certain guests, I really have to focus in on so much of what they've done. And that's why, you know, when I sent you the questions earlier, they're so like just what you have done and what you've done with Repset and everything. Whereas like this whole conversation, we've talked about you for half an hour. Like this has been just
Yeah.
awesome, you know?
Yeah, I skimmed those questions and I was like, I just thought like, oh, we're gonna be good. Like, yeah, we'll be fine. Looks like he's got a good idea of what's been going on those last couple of years. But yeah, dude, it's like I said before when we were talking or texting or whatever, like I could talk someone's ear off about this shit. It's something I still think constantly, and maybe it's just from having it around me. But yeah, like we're talking about Chijo. Like I had a really good talk with Chijo, where the talk was small, but I had thought about this for a long time about why, just how his riding hits different now, and that how all those inspirations kind of come together. Like I still nerd out about it the same way I did when I was 15. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Chijo is such a fucking unreal dude too. He was actually in Kitchener last week with Mike Gray, and we went out filming. And I don't know if you've ever met Mike Gray, but
Yeah, he's good.
fuck, dude, can that guy shred? Like I can't talk about any of the clips, but the whole time I was like, he literally banged out like 4 or 5 of the biggest clips ever done in Kitchener, like in a day,
yeah.
you know?
And then when you put Chijo in an environment like that, it's like magic, because Chijo will put on too, like
Dude,
really hard.
Chijo didn't even take his bike out of the fucking car, but that dude was like, he was the greatest hype man ever. Like, he was so down. I loved it, man. Joel and I were on camera duty, and then he had his buddy Snake there to shoot like photos, and it was awesome. And then Chijo was just there, like, you know, checking for cops and whatnot, and he's just like hyping Mike up the whole time.
Snake's the man.
Honestly,
too.
yeah.
That dude Aaron is like he's a real OG too. Like, he used to work at the bike shop in Barrie with Chijo when I the Barrie BMX house. Like, that's what brings all these scenes together. It's like, I used to go visit the Barrie BMX house with Chijo and his buddies there, and like, it was barely even a BMX house when I think about it, but just a house where BMX riders could stay. When we went up there, man, it was good.
Dude, that is so rad, though. Yeah. Anyways, moving on from that. So I'm going to quickly skim these questions and make sure I didn't leave out anything super important. Let's see here. I'm like, we can always ask these in the next one, because we're definitely doing another one if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'd be down, yeah.
Hell yeah. I think we're good. We'll just we'll jump into these fan questions here. So from Keith Baker, what is your favorite Orangeville spot? So like street spot.
Orangeville street spot. Man, I haven't been. Every time I go back to Ontario, I don't like visit Orangeville. Man, I should. Let me think. Like, this is like my bank security question. Is like, what's the best Orangeville best spot? But
fair enough.
But let me think. Like, so I used to love. Man, if this is still there, there's a ledge outside the West Side ledge. There's a ledge outside West Side, and we used to. I don't think we used to ride there, but we used to just like meet there all the time. Just a cement ledge, like on the west side of the city at a school called West Side.
Is it an up ledge?
No, it's just like a flat ledge.
Okay.
Man, it's probably garbage. Like, it's probably a foot high, with like a rounded side. We used to just try and like 180 off it and stuff. Like,
that's sick though.
This is like basic shit.
Yeah.
And there's another one called the Black Blocks. Man, I wonder if this spot's still here. I'm just gonna look it up while I talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
It's across the street from the Orangeville Public Library on Broadway, and it's just these weird, the black blocks. They're just like a bike length and a half, peg height. The run-up was really shitty, so they were more like manual pads than
anything,
than wedges. But they were just right downtown in the center of that little town. And like, I don't know what the deal was, except just that, I can't find it, fuck this. But we would just meet there. So that was my favorite shit. And I guess we had the Galaxy Cinema. We had built a little dirt wall ride up to there's like a wall right there, and I have seen that when I went back, and there's still, like, the grass is still kind of shitty there from where we used to, like, have our little jump there. So, yeah, those are my favorite spots. Galaxy, and just that whole area. I have a lifetime ban from the shopping center. So, like,
yeah.
The whole property. Tag Security. Shout out to Tag Security and, like, all the Orangeville shenanigans.
They really weren't down, eh?
Hassling. We go out, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? I think we're going to just go do some hassling. And we go around and just hassle everybody about everything. Just a Friday night. As kids.
That's hilarious, man. So this next one is from Sean Harrison. I don't know if you've ever met Sean. He's a big dude in the Edmonton scene, running India Street. Sean says, Cory, you are so underrated. Your riding is insane. Not really a question, but, just
shout out to Sean. Thanks, man. Like, Sean. Big shout out to Sean. He's keeping that. I think he's kind of keeping that Edmonton scene nice and tight.
Hell
I try and send him like as much as we can for jams. I should mention, if you have a jam going on, let Repset know, because we'll always.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'm always doing jams every year.
Yeah, anybody, like, if you're doing any type of like gathering of BMX riders, like, we'll send some shit out.
Fuck yeah, man. Moving on from that. So this is from a good friend of mine, Caleb Smith. Can the Goat Crew come visit Manitoba? It's not that far.
Yeah, dude. Like, for sure. Like I said, I don't know where you'd stay, but fuck, I have this crazy shop now. Like, there's no shower here, I guess. But yeah, we'll figure it out. There are BMX houses here. I don't know who's getting hosted. But yeah, we'd love to have people out and shit like that. My life's flexible now, so I'm like probably be a decent host again.
Hell yeah, man, that would be sick. And this one actually comes from Matthew Deason, who we mentioned earlier. What was it like growing up at the beginning of the internet age of BMX?
Yeah, well, we covered that pretty good, right? Like,
Yeah, I feel like we
and
did.
that's funny. Hey, like, yeah, that's funny. I mentioned Dessen as like, so. Yeah, that story I think nails it perfectly. Like, how funny is it that all these years later that Dessen stands out as someone I met through the internet, like in person at one of these jams. So that is like, that's the answer. Is like, it was about meeting people. Like, that's what it was like. It was so cool to be able to actually connect with people because you couldn't do that before, right? The only way you met BMX riders was like at the skate park and seeing someone, or like us in Montreal. It was like, because it's not like that now. If you see a BMX rider, you're not like stopping to be like, what is your MSN? Like, what's your email address?
Yeah.
Trying to fucking write it down, like getting it pen and paper and writing it down, because that's what it was like. And so meeting people online and just being able to chat on the forums and stuff like that, yeah, that's what it was like. It was, we were able to build this little community of just not even just Canadian riders, but just kind of people who are a little nerdy, I guess you might say, right? Like,
yeah,
BMX, just like you, right? Like BMX nerds, like who were, because he must be into it. The fact that he like has this question and submitted it, right? He's clearly paying really close attention to what's going on in Canadian BMX still. So that's it, right? It's like, it was awesome because we got to meet these people and kind of connect in a way that no BMX riders before us could, right? We kind of, we grew up in that. It was awesome.
Hell yeah, man. That's such a great, like, you know, when you really think about it, it's pretty crazy because nowadays, like, everybody's got Instagram, and it's gotten to the point where I follow fucking 1,200 people. I'm like, I don't know 1,200 people.
Yeah.
Like, I follow all these people, and I feel bad because I never want to follow new people just because, like, there's so many fucking, like, riders out there. If I followed every person that, like, you know, I don't know, man, there'd just be so many.
It used to be a lot harder to share your riding. Think about how like much more difficult it was. So I don't even know if there's more riders. Like, some people would probably say there's got to be 10 times more riders now if you just look at how much content there is. But I don't know. Like, it feels the same to me. It's just, yeah, you got to sift through it more. It's all more accessible and whatever, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Whereas, like, there was only a few companies really that had a voice that were able to distribute riding, whereas now it's like you've got the power of distributing your own clips at your fingertips, like, instantly. You know, 30 seconds ago, you could have done a clip.
Yeah.
Like, there's a kid in Cambridge, which is super close to Kitchener, and he is, like, unreal with that shit, where, like, he'll go and do something and then post it that night, like, edited to music and all this stuff. And it's just one of those things where, like, you know, it's only bite-sized stuff. It's 15 seconds long max. But this kid is able to get this stuff out fast and efficient. And I think that's what, like, really works, right? Like, I need to get better at that because I am terrible for that. I post stuff on my story constantly, but never anything, like, on my feed. I post maybe once a week on my feed.
Yeah, I'm really into it now, just editing short, like, I'm trying to, for my business at least, I'm not really doing it with BMX, but yeah, it's just the way people consume stuff. Think of how you consume stuff, right?
Absolutely. That's a really good point, actually.
You're either watching it in really small bite-sized pieces, or when someone puts this on, it's going to be like ambient, like they're going to be doing kind of something else, listening in the background or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally different. I can't watch a whole BMX section these days. It sounds fucked to say that, right? But sections are long, video parts are long, and I like really just seeing like what Dakota Roche is doing this morning. Like, I really like,
dude,
I really like
fair
just
enough.
seeing him at the skate park, like shredding around. That's like what I'm into.
Yeah, I always I like to watch BMX videos, you know, like DVDs, full length stuff, anything like that. But for me, I make it kind of like, you know, quote unquote, an event. Like, I've got my projector set up in here, and all it takes is like a quick change of where my laptop is connected, and I can throw in a DVD.
Yeah. I really miss that. That's something I genuinely miss, is like sitting down with your boys and you put it on because there's nothing else to put on. Like, because
Yeah.
watching TV together is kind of whatever. Like, I think about this now, yeah. Like, what do guys do? This BMX kind of messed up. I'm a parent now, and parents are, it's like BMX, but so much worse. Because parents
Yeah.
think that because you're parents, you're like automatically friends. And I got sick of that in BMX. Like, as it got bigger or whatever, it's like, listen, man, like, yeah. I don't, just what you say, you don't wave to you don't go stop somebody on the street
Yeah.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that about it, where you get your friends together and you'd like sit down and watch this thing. So yeah, I wonder what people do. Like, I don't know what I would do with. That's what all this pandemic stuff, man, and me. Like, I miss human contact. We're talking about shows. I'm like, I miss shows. Like, that's what it is. Like, I want to just get together with my friends and do that. I don't know what we would do nowadays. That's just all I want to do is just sit down and watch, like, even if it's Instagram, like, let's just go through some people's Instagrams, but together. Like, I miss that shit, right? Like, yeah, it sucks that full lengths aren't coming out, but I understand why. Like, I have DVDs that I just haven't had time to watch, like full length videos, and I'm just like, fuck, I should watch this, but it's like, it's not how I consume anything anymore, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. I've really wanted to do a thing on my show where once we have like live streamed BMX events again, I want to get three others to come into the office
Yeah,
with me because I've got three other mics and we'll just commentate the event, and
that would
people
be
can
sick.
listen to
Yeah.
that. I think people would be really into that. It's just like, this year I was really hoping to do it with Battle of Hastings, and then they canceled Battle of Hastings, so it was just it's a no-go, right? Like, what else am I going to do it for? They didn't
That'd be
do.
awesome. Like, it makes me think of even not even like a official thing, but like if there was like a Discord channel or something. Like, I
Yeah.
think that would be that'd probably be a lot of fun. Like, just to go and talk shit with people. It'd be like the forums, right? Yeah, that's a really good idea, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? Maybe I'll set something up like that. I think a Discord would be cool. I've always wanted to do something where I basically just have three random BMX riders come in
Yeah, yeah,
here that don't even know each other, or like don't tell them who they're going to be sitting in with, and we just talk shit. But
yeah. I'd love that. Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds like.
it'd be really fun, I bet. Cool. So I got one last question for you, Corey, and I really just want to thank you for doing this.
My
Um,
pleasure.
So my last question here for you is, as someone who has played a big role in the Canadian BMX scene over the years, what is your advice for somebody that wants to get out there and start some sort of Canadian BMX brand, whether it be for clothing, a blog site, a crew, videos, anything like that?
Hey, man. Well, obviously, just go out and do it, right? But I think the key, if you're asking this from my like perspective of Repset, what makes Repset like exist this whole time is that it's like I always tried to center it around like what do I want to get out of it, and I remember I said it's like it's linked to how much I'm involved in BMX. It's like I truly take pleasure in doing that part of everything, right? And so that is like if you want to do it, then you need to know that that is the key. Like the fact that you have this, that you're even thinking about it, it does mean that you're the right person to do it. It does mean that you are like in the right timing and stuff like that. Because like a lot of people don't think about it that way. Like, and which is fine, right? Like people just want to ride and stuff like that. But if you have this like motivation to put your scene on or put anybody on or contribute in any type of way, and like clothing doesn't contribute like the way we did Repset, like wouldn't necessarily contribute if I wasn't always clear about like, well, I'm not trying to make this a job for me, that it's just like I don't even know. Like Repset account has money in it now, and I don't know what to do with it. Not that I'm worried about that, right? But it's just like it's there for that, and it was always just to share BMX, really. And if that's what it is, like if you have that, because why would you not really? If you're asking that question, it's because maybe you're trying to find some reasons not to or whatever. Or you need this motivation to do it. It's like there's really not many reasons not to. Like ignore whatever you're fucking worried about, and yeah, just do it because it's not a big deal. It's just something that you do, but it's good to share it. It's brought me so much more like love for BMX and shit like that, right? It's
Hell
brought so
yeah,
much more
man.
BMX to me, more opportunities within BMX, like to get invited to those BMX houses, like to have that place on a couch that you can go to or whatever, right? So yeah, get in
Yeah.
there.
Dude, you make a really great, valid point. I think that it's like important not just for everybody, but for you as a person. Like, if you're into it and that's what you want to do, and you're even, you have the slightest thought of it, like, my first instinct is to tell people to do it, right? Like, I've filmed 2 full-length videos completely off a whim. I was like, well, we have
Yeah.
some clips, like, let's do
And
something
for
with it.
what, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you gotta think now, like, now I should know just what you're saying. Like, now's the best time to do it. There's never been a better time in history, because you think about, like, you asked me about, like, the come up and that they were huge, right? It's like, I didn't think of it that way, and because I said I was like, I think it's because I was a kid, I didn't care, right? But now that's like a real possibility. Anything you're into, right? Like, we've all seen crazy, like, TikTok and Instagrams that are just about, like, nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, which is what BMX is. Like you said, you go to some spot, some Instagram account with a bunch of architecture. To some people, that just looks like literally nothing. Like, right?
Yeah.
It's not even a nice picture, you said, right? So that's it, man. Like, yeah, I still love it. That's all I gotta say is just, like, I still love it. And if you're sharing it and stuff like that, man, now's the only time in history where it's been, like, this easy to share it, where it's been, like, what even is a podcast, right? Like, the fact that anybody who's listening to this right now could start their own and, like, and build it into something, like, I don't know, I hate to say it, but you could build into something like the come up, like the Adam 22's, like, massive thing. Like, there's opportunities to be 1% of that and still be, like, living, doing what you love. So that was never a possibility to me. It's something I try and tell my kid now, who's only 3. I can't, it's not sticking, but I think about it for my kid, which is, like, you can do anything, man. Like, did you know that, like, people go to fucking space? That's what I think about as a kid. Like, I'm sure people told me I could be an astronaut or whatever, but, like, I never knew that I could, like, yeah, if you want to make BMX your whole life, like, you could definitely do that right now, and you do not have to be good at riding, right? There's people doing it before, but you don't need, like, that like, there's no gatekeepers anymore. It's just the internet. Like, you could, like you said, man, you're like, I want to make a channel or a podcast basically announcing a live BMX event.
Yeah.
Like, that's what that Sal McCalla guy was being paid all this money to do. And the only reason he's doing it before and you're not, because he had the connection to do it, right? You just have an internet connection. Like, you just do it.
There you go. Yeah. I think that's why it would work so well. And especially if you get a couple people in there and it's not so serious, right? Like, because people don't have to listen to it. They can just come to your channel, throw it on, and then throw on the other thing with no audio.
There's no pressure of if the TV ratings don't like it. Yeah, it's so good now. It's never been an easier time to just do something like that. And, like, yeah, so I'd say do it, because I want to see more. Like, yeah, like I said, BMX should be shared, so share more of that with me.
Hell yeah, man.
Listening, right? And you wanted to get something going.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, Cory, this has been incredible. We are just about to pass 3 hours.
Thank you, man.
I really want to thank you again for doing this. This has been really cool, man. I've been doing a lot of these, for the last little while, and this has been a really fun one where we just weren't so serious. We just talked about everything and anything, right? Like, so good. I love that. But yeah, to everybody that's made it this far, thank you guys for checking out the podcast today.
For real.
Cory, what do you want to rep for us today? What are we talking about?
Oh, man. Well, since you said we'd come back, I'll save this box for later. Maybe that's something we can do. Right?
Oh, man, fuck it. Let's do it now.
I was just going through the top, so all right. Well,
I'm too excited. Let's do it now.
I'll go quick. What do we got? So, first things first. If I was going to shout out anybody, it'd be all these people who have shared. Wow, going back to shit, right? All these people have shared BMX with me. All this stuff just gets sent, and, like, not all of this. I don't even know what this box is. Maybe this is stuff that I feel, like, good about trading and shit like that. But all the stuff in here is going to be stuff that just people have sent over the years that I'm super grateful for, right? So I guess, like, shout out to BMX Foo. I'm just opening up, like, old OG Fu Man sticker packs here.
Hell yeah.
Like the old.
Oh
Like,
shit. Yeah, those are fucking
so
old.
I have all of them unstuck, like every version
That's so
of all
sick.
the ones. So yeah, shout out to Trent who he like. It sounded like the BMX Fu budget was pretty good on those stickers for a while. And what else we got? The BMX Fu and Yosik, like Brad Hill and Prashant did this like,
Nice.
newsprint thing, right? So shout out to Union Press, just people like putting in work to share their photos on their own terms, right? This is Battle of the Birds zine.
Whoa, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess shout out, this is a good list. Shout out to Scott Grant, Andrew Schubert, Owen Dawson, Jordan Hango, Chris Henry, Dave Scott, Jason Teat, Carl Arnett, Orlando from Atlantis BMX. That's where this is from.
Nice.
Luke Santucci, Matt Desson, Ryan Hebert, Riley McMaster, and everyone else that hangs out.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Jason Teat is a BSD rider, and he's from Kitchener, actually. That's from what I heard.
I was going to ask you, who else is the big Kitchener rider? Is James Steele from Kitchener?
James Steele is from Kitchener.
James Steele, he's badass.
Yeah, and then legendary BMX rider John Heaton is from... yeah, can you hold up that D-Walk sticker again?
Yeah, I got
John Heaton is from Woodstock. Dude, D-Walk is sick. Those dudes got me so hooked on the way that like I wanted to edit my videos and everything. Yeah, Jack Leonard is the fucking man.
He's an artist. I'll say how much, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think I met any of those guys like in person, but rad dudes, right? Those guys. Shout out to Scott Barker. He shot that Barcelona photo I showed the other day. This is 10,000 cans. He made a DVD of like the English guys around him, like the scene around him when he lived in London.
Yeah.
Which is thick, right? That people go and do that. Got an old Gleeman sticker, Luke Santucci.
Oh, that thing is sick.
Quit Dreaming. He finally put the video out. What else we have here? This is an old McNeil poster. Yeah, so shout out to the pictures on here, because I think that Eric Marshall shot a photo on here.
Hell yeah.
Probably why. I think that's probably why I would have it, like, because my buddy Eric would have shot a photo, maybe. Or it has photos from Barcelona, maybe, in it. But anyway, yeah, shout out to everyone on here. Like, Taylor Elvey, one of my favorite Canadian BMX guys of all time. Got Jamel Campbell on here. Greg Flagg. Who else? Dylan Lloyd, of course. Yeah, another Taylor Elvey. Chris Silva in the corner.
Dude.
Shout out to the Canadian guys there, right? What else we got? This is kind of cool. This is a beer koozie. I was like, I don't know how this got in the box. It was on my beer earlier, but so Chris Rye from Props BMX. Long story short, I posted a video on my Floodway print company account. It was like me riding. It was like my son riding around in the shop, and it had a bit of my BMX bike in it because I was following him around. And I got this message from a print shop saying like, "Yo, do you ride BMX?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, what's up?" And I looked, and it's Chris Rye. So Chris Rye from Props BMX now runs a screen printing shop. That's what he's doing after Props now.
Oh wow!
So this crazy OG, it's like, "Oh, you ride BMX? Like I've been watching your BMX, your screen printing videos." I'm like, "Dude, I grew up watching your BMX videos," and he's so modest, like. Shout out, yeah, he sent me a t-shirt and some stuff for like giving him some printing talk, but like crazy, right?
That is so wild, man.
The stickers from, I don't know who, I think, yeah, I went on that trip to Austin with Trent, and Trent got some Texas stickers made for when we went down there. Shout out to Smay Vision 3, right? Where's Smay from? He's from Oshawa, Ontario. Just another dude putting in time and effort and money and all that stuff, blood, sweat, and tears to promote his scene. Right?
Hell yeah, man.
Good job. I got an original Repset lookbook from 2014. It says on it. We used to send these out with orders, and it's just like a little photocopied zine. I'm just gonna check this out. Because it's super, yeah, it's just like old. All the Repset stuff. There's
Yeah.
Jamel Campbell in there.
I love that quote unquote slogan, by the way, rep your set, fuck the rest. I thought that was like such a cool, I
Yeah,
don't know.
some locals here are kind of salty about that, as if like who's the rest? But like, no, it means like don't worry about all the bullshit. Just
Yeah.
put your setup and don't worry about it, right? So what else? Oh, there's that DVD that I was talking about.
Nice.
So it's got I got some gems in here. I think I'm supposed to be sending this to somebody, the BMX archive dude.
Oh, dude, that guy is sick. He's got a couple of my videos. Such a rad fucking guy, man. Shout out to
Yeah,
him.
someone who's just working hard to share BMX with people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else we got? Ooh, this is good. So Noble BMX. This is an old East Coast shop.
Yeah.
Old East Coast shop. I don't know if they're still around or not, but I'm pretty sure I would have got that in like a session package, like back in the day, like a session box. I got some stickers here. Demi sent me these from Vancouver Metro Jam.
Wow. Yeah, those are sick.
And I got trades if anyone needs to like. So what else we got? I'm trying to find some more people here. Chris Caddett from Niagara Falls, and he lives in Vancouver now, but he worked a lot with Orlando and Atlantis to really kind of push the Vancouver scene. Shout out to Chris, man, big time. For sending that shit through. No, I got like a patch version.
Patch?
Of that.
Yeah.
That sticker is just a picture of the patch, is all the design is, but
Yeah.
it's not an actual patch. So yeah, shout out to Luke Santucci. What the fuck is this? Got some more. Yeah, shout out to Union Press again.
Hell yeah.
I got the Drake and the Trump Fu Man. Is that Trump?
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right.
Drake and the Trump Fu Man.
That is
These are
awesome.
old things. Crazy.
Yeah,
Who
I've
else?
always really admired the way that Trent and those dudes are able to put out so many stickers like that are just like,
Trent
limited edition.
Trent does them all himself. Like, I don't think he comes up with every idea, right? Someone's like, oh, you should do this. He'll do it. But he does them all himself. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so wild, man.
An original, like, big embassy sticker.
That's so sick.
I got some old, like, we were talking about, right? I got an old, the come up sticker in here. And
Yeah.
what else? I got, Chocolate Truck. Shout out to Chocolate Truck. That's a crew, right? Another crew that just is putting videos together. I was kind of missing on their name earlier.
Those stickers, too, are, like, pretty big, You can go to a lot of places and see those stickers, which is sick.
Yeah, maybe one day people will care about this, like, BMX shit I got going on here. Right? This will be a vintage score, but
nice. 514.
So that's the Liam dude's BMX shop that he
Yeah.
ran after UAB. I think it still exists now. I think it's still there now.
So when we went to Montreal 3 years ago, we actually went there. And funny story, my buddy had a joint in his pocket. And on our bike ride over, it ended up getting fucked up. And he's like, oh, man, I fucked up my joint. And the guy, like, runs to the back and grabs a rolling tray with fucking papers and just, like, say, hey, man, just sneak in the back and you can roll that up. Oh, like, that is fucking hilarious, dude.
That's good.
Those guys were so good to us, man. And that shop had some cool shit in there. Like, they had these wooden FBM bar ends that I honestly wish I would have bought because they were only like $30, but like I would never put them on a bike, But I don't know. It's like I should have bought those.
Are like, they're super OG. Like they know. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised they had crazy stuff like that going on there.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
So you probably won't remember this because I definitely don't. But I got a Good Styles BMX zine, Calgary BMX.
Whoa, yeah, I've never heard of that.
This would have been like Street Justice, like pre-Street Justice type stuff, which is 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And shit like that. Let me look. I'm getting down to the bottom here, so we're almost done. But, shout out to Red Eye Glass. This is the bong warehouse I worked at when I lived in Vancouver. I just got a job at this warehouse, and it ended up being this, like, crazy glass company out of nowhere.
Fuck, dude. I totally meant to ask you about the Repset warehouse.
Oh yeah, dude.
Dude, should we
That's
save
a
that
good
for the
one.
next one?
Man, let's talk about it now, and hopefully by the next time I'll have some like update about it. So,
Hell yeah.
long story short, man, if you go look at this video, maybe you can put a link to it or whatever. But we have some Dave McNabb, basically, like Billy Boris and Dave McNabb. They found this old storage unit. It's like the top floors of a. I think this company bought an old brewery building, and they used to brew beer there.
Yeah.
It's sketchy in there, man. And so the basement and the first floor is storage, like self-storage, and then the second floor was okay. We had some shit there, but the third floor was where was what the warehouse was. It was like the real warehouse, and so it's just a brick building, no insulation, no heat. So it was definitely minus 40 in there. I've ridden it at like dire winter temperatures before. And it was all just hand built by Winnipeg BMX riders. I can't say I put as much effort into building it as everybody else did. It was kind of like it was complete. Like it was in its final construction when I started riding it and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's just, dude, I used to call it Dave's Fantasy Factory. It's just McNabb being like, I want to build this like totally unreasonable ramp setup just because I have the freedom to do it. Like it wasn't super fun to session. Like it was hard. It held it back a little bit because it was hard to ride the fucking place.
Yeah.
There's pillars. It's just like my shop here. There's pillars every 13 feet, and like the ceiling was kind of low in some spots, not low in others, and yeah, it was a gnarly place. So he just paid very minimal rent. We only had to pay rent in the winter when we were actually going to it because it was in this
Whoa.
like it was in this condemned ass part of the building. So
Yeah.
the reason I said like, oh, I'll talk a bit about it now and maybe I'll have an update for it is because like I have been wanting to go there. It's all still there. So what happened is the guy who liked Dave, the manager of the building who liked Dave, he got replaced or retired. There's a new manager who basically was like, this shit's not gonna like. Basically was like, no. Like you have what going on upstairs, and you get how much money for it? Like,
Yeah.
no. Like I'm not really. It's like if you were the manager, right? You took over. You're like, I don't need to turn a blind eye to this. And so I'm just like, it just ended there basically.
Dude,
But
that is so rough though.
it had a good 10 years though. It was like, it wasn't sad. It was like it had run its course and like. But it's there, man. So I bet it's all like Dave never went to get anything. Like if you went up there, I bet there's old BMX parts. Like
Wow.
unless they cleaned it out, and they had no reason to do that ever.
Yeah, well, because it's condemned. Like, there's nothing they can do up there.
They'd have to put a big elevator in to even use it for anything, and like
Yeah.
it was just gnarly up there. Like, ooh yeah. And then there's 5 floors above it of craziness, man. Like,
Wow.
yeah, there's it was just abandoned and sketchy up there. But
Yeah, I
we
don't
rode
know.
it. Rode it a lot, man. Spent a lot of time in that fucking crazy place.
Yeah,
Had a big curved wall ride in it. You wanted to talk about getting comfortable on curved wall rides? It had like a big U-turn curved wall ride in it, right?
yeah, I've got the video playing on stream right now, and like, just so crazy to think, like, you know, why would they kick you out when they're getting money for it? When, like, realistically, they can't use it for anything else, right?
Yeah,
Like, just
but
take the money.
Why would you risk having these kids up there?
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
Like, you have a successful business that doesn't have anything to do with this condemned ass part of your building. Like, we cause so much more bullshit than, like, right? Like, it's just a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
They're just between people, like, and it was cold, right? The storage was only nominally warm, like a little bit warmer. So we'd fucking hang out in the storage area, causing trouble and stuff. Like, I remember those guys saying they did mushrooms there one time and went all through the top floors. And like,
Oh my
I could
god.
just imagine that just being like, yeah, so much irresponsible, crazy shit. And if someone got hurt up there, stupid people used to ride by themselves and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
you don't want an ambulance coming to your storage unit and like, I don't know. I could just, as a business owner now, yeah, I could just imagine 1,000 reasons why you wouldn't want to fucking like deal with any of that. So
Yeah, fair enough. Was there like any waivers or anything that people had to sign, or was that not really a thing?
Like, near the end there kind of was, but it was more of like not a waiver if you got hurt. It's like I need to know who's coming in and out of this place now that you have like 20 people going. The manager just wanted to know and have pictures of people's IDs and stuff like that. But
Fair
it kind
enough.
of died. Like it kind of died because it was dead. You know, it didn't get shut down by that lady. I shouldn't say. It was kind of just getting like annoying to run it every year and like open it up and deal with all the shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So
work.
much stuff. I put a lot of work in there on the extra stuff. I shouldn't say I didn't work in there. I put up all the light, like I did all the lights and just made it like tried to make it a pleasant place to ride and shit. I tried to make a hot room. They had some heaters there, so we like polyed off a square, like a warm up spot and shit. But
Oh, that's kind of cool though.
yeah, it was cool. So hopefully next time, because man, I drive by there a lot, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm in a situation. How much would it cost to rent a unit just to go see it? Like I'm interested just to go look and see if I could get back up there, see what it would take, because like it's all probably closed off now. Right? And then if that doesn't work, I want to ask the lady like, hey, I used to ride here. Like, I don't want to bring my bike. Could I just go up and take pictures? And like,
I bet you could probably set something up if you like send her an email even and just like, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to bring my bike. I'm not going to bring anybody. I just want to document history, you know?
just the fact that you know it's up there, they'd be like, how the fuck do you know? Or they'd be, if it's sealed, I could imagine them not having any clue. Like, not having any reason to ever go up there. They'd be like, what's up there? Let's go. I'll show you. Like, this crazy is 4,000 square feet. So it's the size of my shop. Wow. Yeah,
dude,
it's the same size as my shop. The pillars, I remember, all the same distance. Like,
wow.
And it sucked right in here.
Dude, I bet you if you like sent her an email and then like sent her links to the videos of you guys riding in there, she might be like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. Like, you know, we'll let him come in and take a look at it. You probably won't ever get to ride it again, but
I've been trying to get Dave to do the final shutdown of it for a long time because he's always the one who has the contact, but he's got his own shit going on, his band and whatever. So that's what I need to do is just kick our asses into gear. So hopefully I'll have some more on that next time, right?
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, you got anything else to show us there?
That's pretty much it. All I wanted to say last was the last thing I saw that I didn't mention was the Albion. Shout out to the Albion.
Hell yeah.
Like Daniel Benson and those dudes over there because I got some stickers even because that's like the best BMX content that I ever read. And the first BMX magazine that I was ever in is my first ever printed like photo was in the Albion. So yeah, we could talk about that next time too. Really like epic piece of BMX kind of journalism and stuff like that, and how that all. I moved to England like right as this shit was all coming out and everything. It was all really good timing.
Wow. Yeah,
do you have issue 1? Do you have issue number 1 around you?
Let's see. I've got issue number 5 from volume 1 and issue 16. So these were actually sent to me from a fan of the show. So I believe this was Adam Hardy, who we had on. He runs 4 Pegs in Scotland. So go check those guys out, everybody. But yeah.
They were hard to get. The reason I mentioned issue 1 is because issue 1 is a picture of all my boys from Hull, England, like the scene that I went to live at.
Yeah.
They were like on the cover of that as like it's a riding photo. It's them like going to the ferry to go to Amsterdam, and it's just like, yeah, just epic BMX magazine. I don't know which ones I have here. I only have this one. This was the one, the last, like my missing piece. It's issue 6, volume 1. So this is the one where I had my first, like, not my first photo, but like I had this big spread in there.
Wow.
So that's Daniel Benson. This was in the Embassy Barca video.
That is nuts, dude.
And it's crazy just having, like, just being able to work with those guys on that level. So shout out to them, another bunch of people, like that whole side of the world that shared so much rad BMX with me.
Yeah.
Dude. Man, you want to talk about nerding out spots? Like, when those guys took me to Sheffield, do you remember the BMX video Voices?
Oh, man.
Voices, and there's another one called Tomorrow We Work. But it was just all filmed in this, like, it's like what I went to Barca. It's like how people describe Barcelona. You go and you're like, that spot. and then that spot's like only half a block away. It's like their whole video is filmed in like this place, and they just thought I was crazy, right? Like it's their scene video, and I'm like,
Yeah, just nerding out, eh?
bro. Like this is the Joe Cox rail.
Yeah, that is so wild, eh? It is crazy whenever you get to see that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think how you doing over there? Do you want to end it off here?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I appreciate your time. My wife's texting me a little bit. She said, "I just want to make sure you didn't fall asleep. Like I'm gonna fall. Like I've ever fallen asleep at the shop before. Like
Yeah, dude, I
man.
gotta compliment your backdrop there. I love everything you got going on. You've had BMX videos going the whole time. Very cool area. I like it.
This is my office is dialed. I saw something. I saw someone made just like a little mini computer that plays videos all the time for some other shit. And so I'm like, I thought that'd be great to do with BMX videos. So I have this TV in my office that it's playing these videos all the time. It just shuffles old BMX videos that I grew up on. Like, what is it right now? This is Fit Barcelona.
Nice.
So I grew up watching that and being like, man, I want to go there, right? And like, then exactly what we were just saying, right? And then going on that trip and just seeing all that stuff, like, it's crazy. Right?
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Cool. I think we'll end it off here. Thank you guys for checking out the podcast today, and a huge shout out to Cory over at Repset as well as Floodway Printing. Make sure that you guys go over and give him a follow. This is very important. Cory has, done so much for the Canadian BMX scene.
I'm sharing lots of good BMX shit now. Like I said, I found that old lost ass hard drive, so
hell yeah,
I've got some good like throwback content that apparently no one has seen from that video. So yeah, tune your ass in.
Yeah, there you go, man. And yeah, thank you guys again for checking out the podcast, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you. And
talk to you soon.
Yeah, see ya.